we go. And it says we're recording, so there we are. So I'm Vance Stevens. I'm in Penang, Malaysia right now, and I'm one of the coordinators for EVO, Electronic Village Online. And right now we're doing EVO, the best of EVO 2020. EVO 2020 is what we do in January and February. And we have Electronic Village Online sessions for 5 weeks on those months. Oh, hang on a minute. I got people I need to let into the, there's Mike Contreras here. Do you know him, Mike?
Yeah, he's a very good friend.
Okay, someone from Israel and Hebrew. It's okay, no problem. Okay, so, all right, so good. Well, Mike is here.
Yeah.
Anybody is welcome at this point to. Hey,
hi, Mike. Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi, Martina.
Hi.
Mike, I've been calling you Mike Contreras, but it must be Contreras.
Yeah.
It's Contreras, yeah.
Contreras. Okay. I mean, putting the Greek thing together. Okay, that's cool. All right. So anyway, well, good to see both of you here. And I was explaining to Martina that that this is EVO, Electronic Village Online. What we're doing is we're kind of replacing the sessions that we go online from the TESOL conference in Denver, but that's been canceled because of COVID, which we're all staying home for. What a sad situation. But anyway, here we are, happy situation. We're here together. And let me just show you what's going to happen tonight.
Martina's actually quite a strong member of TESOL Greece for many years. I've only been around, briefly for the last 3 or so. But she's been around quite a bit and supporting TESOL.
Yeah.
And I've actually been a member of the board as well. Been a TESOLer since 1989. And I served at the board for 4 years. So yeah, been to IATEFL as well. I've met Nelly in person, Nelly Deutsch.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I've known her for some time.
Yeah, I'm sure
quite a bit.
Sure you have.
Let me see if I can, what do we have? Oh, this is it. This is what I'm looking for right here. I don't know, do I want to present this? Okay, why not? This is our introduction. What we try to do is there's some booming going on. I guess 2 people in the waiting room. Let me just take care of them. Michael Birch, I think we saw him this morning. Jane is here. Okay, excellent. I'm not sure what that bang is. Is one of you doing any banging, or let me just see if anybody else is? No, it looks like it could be from. It doesn't really matter. It's just that if it's from you, it's okay. But if it's from somebody else, we want to mute them. But I don't want to mute you because you were talking to you. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hi, Jane.
Good.
Mike is here, and Martina is
Mike.
here.
Hi, Jane. Hi.
And I guess you can probably see my screen share. What have I got here? This is the one we're doing right now. This is our schedule for Saturday. Let's see. Oh, Sue Anand is here. Okay, let me just admit her into the room.
Wow.
Bill is here. All right. Here we go. Okay. Oh, you know what? That must be in my Minecraft. The banging. Could be creepers going off. Not sure what's going on there. That's probably what it is. Okay, anyway, we are in part 3 of 3 of the 3-part webcastathon, which we're doing today and yesterday, and we're in the last part of it. And today we're going to hear from Heike Philp about immersive language learning, and from Jane and I, and Heike perhaps, about EVO Minecraft MOOC. And then looks like Kirsten and Katrine and Marina. Is that you? No, Marina, not okay. And Virginia are going to talk to us about English for the workplace. And we're going to have something about flipped learning with Jeff, Diana, Carolina, and Gabriella, and Mike Contreras.
Yeah.
Oh,
and Diana, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Getting exciting.
Yeah.
And then Nagla Salim is going to talk to us about grammar for TESOL. All this scheduled to sort of go on a not so tight schedule. I don't know. We could also go overtime. We're not that pressed really, but I suppose if we're going to finish in a couple of hours, we need to keep everyone down to 20, 25 minutes. And especially we want to have time for questions. It's always nice to have questions at the end. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to do today. And let's see, let me get the thing on. That's what we are. We're Best of EVO online, not canceled, but moved online.
I have a question.
Yes.
I watched all 2 hours and 40 something minutes of the first session.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
which is quite interesting on YouTube. What about the second session?
The second session, that was this morning.
This morning, yeah?
Yes, that's right. We had 2 presenters. We actually had 3 scheduled, but somebody spaced, and we had 2, and we had a very good conversation with them. It was also for 2 hours, and really, it was kind of a nice session. And it's all online.
Oh, that is online. Yeah, that was the question, if that's online, because I couldn't find it in the morning. But
let me just see if I can. How do I get out of here? If I stop the share, okay. Oh no, I could have shared anyway.
Yeah.
Hi, Sue. How are you? Nice to see you.
Well, thanks. Good
Hi,
to
Marina.
see you.
Yes, good. Okay. Sue is presenting later. And I was just going to show where these things are. So if I go back to that one, actually, it was the one I was sharing. Let's see, maybe I need to, I'm not sure how I can get to the thing. Was I presenting? I guess I was presenting. Maybe I need to go and unpresent. Exit the presentation. There we go. Ah, there we are. Okay. Still sharing. And what I wanted to go to was learningtogether.net. Learningtogether.net is where I'm putting all these things that are happening. And I've got kind of a table of contents here, so you can see what we did yesterday. That's the video from yesterday, which Mike watched all 2.5 hours of it. Whew, what a trooper.
2 hours and 47 minutes.
2 hours and 47 minutes. Holding our feet to the fire here. Okay, so well, this one's a little bit lighter. It's maybe an hour and 45 minutes. I'm not really sure how long this one is. Anyway, this was from this morning. So we had 2 presenters talking here. And let's see if I back up here and I come over to the one we're at now. This is the, nothing there yet. Wonder why. It's because we haven't done it yet. Okay, this is kind of like Spaceballs, you know, we're sort of backing up and coming together. Are you guys familiar with Spaceballs? No?
Rings a bell, but yeah.
It was a play on Star Wars, and there was some point in the spoof where there was some critical situation and they wondered what to do. And they said, well, you know, all these movies are, they're all bootlegged. So they looked in their the video collection and they found the movie they were in and they started playing that. And then they fast forwarded up to the point they were in and they said, and then they all turned back and looked at the camera. And they all, in the movie, it was doing that. So anyway, that's the thing, you know, that is sort of like a, the meaning of life, where there's one movie inside another.
Another movie, yeah.
Anyway, what can I say? Okay, Joe McVeigh is here. I'm going to admit him. And Miyako is also here. We have 14 participants at the moment. So welcoming everybody. So anyway, this is just for the newcomers. This is where we are cataloging this. I think I'm going to have to turn off Minecraft. Let's see, I'll turn that off for a minute. Because it's making booming sounds in my computer. Okay, so this is learningtogether.net. And if you go there, just learningtogether.net, you'll find the videos that we're putting up online. The one that I'm making tonight, probably it's going to finish at midnight, so it'll be morning before I get it together and put it up on YouTube, but I will do that in the morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's see, Marina has just joined, and Kirsten from the workplace, Nagla is here. Okay, so Nagla. All right, wonderful. Okay, so Jane, I don't know what Jane. What else do we have to say here? I had the. I'll put the slides up.
Okay.
What else do we have to say? And maybe we could say what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
This is our schedule for today.
Mm-hmm.
Going to have if Heike is here. If she's not here, I don't know, Jane. I guess that would be us that's going, or whoever wants to go.
I think we're ready to go if Heike's not here yet.
Hmm?
I think we're ready to go if Heike's not here yet.
Okay. Well, Heike is one of our moderators.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give her a minute. And
Okay.
anyway, she's going to talk to us about immersive language learning, assuming she comes. And then we're going to talk, Jane and I and Heike. She must be here on the list. Yes, she is. Okay. And Aaron Schwartz was in Minecraft a moment ago.
Yep.
So we have all these people ready to join us. So we're going to talk about that. And then English for the workplace. Kirsten is here. Nellie is here. Let me just let her in. Okay. So then we're going to have flipped learning. Flipped learning. A few of these people, I don't. Oh, Mike is here. Mike Contreras.
Yep, they'll come. They'll be here. Jeff will be here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Martha.
Yes, and
Carolina.
Nagla is here now. Is Martha here?
No, not yet.
Okay. No, she's got plenty.
She should be
of time.
logging on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Diana.
Is Diana here?
Not yet.
Okay.
But they'll be here. We were just on WhatsApp.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, so I guess our first presenter would be Heike, but if she's not here, I think Jane is suggesting that we just go ahead with it, shall we?
All right. It's 10 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
Do you think she's going to come soon?
Well, I don't know. You know, we actually this afternoon we were waiting for a couple of presenters on one of the sessions, but they never appeared. Never actually responded to any of us, I don't suppose. Did they respond to you? We tried to email them.
I think Judy just got back.
Okay.
Yeah, said she thought it's tonight, 11.
Well, it could be tonight. I mean, they could do it, you know. So, okay. Well, it's 10 o'clock now, and I guess we'll try to keep ourselves at 20 minutes and try to keep a good to make a good model for other people. Okay.
So we'll go first, right?
All right. So let me see if I can. I'm in a screen share. Well, I don't know what do you want? Do you want to put on mine?
Can I do my screen share?
Do it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is EVO Minecraft MOOC. EVO Minecraft MOOC is not a session where we tell people what to do. What we do is they get them into Minecraft, and then we show them how to play Minecraft, first of all, but that's actually just the fun part. And the really fun part is how to use it with students, how to use it in learning in these participatory cultures. So that's what we're actually trying to do, is get people into the participatory cultures. And, oh, cool. I'm probably in here somewhere.
Yeah, that's ZZ is Aaron. He hosts our server from the University of Ohio,
University.
Right? Ohio University, and this is Tricky from Taipei. That's Emmanuel from Brazil, and this Maddie Tai is my son from Taipei. All right, he's doing crazy stuff.
Always does crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's his mother.
Okay. So this is my right here we started EVO Minecraft MOOC before I joined. It's 2015 to 2019 on Google Plus, and we had 391 members, but Google Plus closed down, and so this year we moved our community in several places. On Facebook, the one on Facebook, we just set it up this year, and we have 44 members because it's a new community this year. We are also on Discord. This is how we communicate, stay connected with the EVO Minecraft MOOC educators from all around the world. And Carol
Discord is it's a voice chat, which is very popular with gamers, and it also has this. It's quite like Slack, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
It looks a lot like Slack.
Yep.
But
and
it's a place where you can actually, it's much used to go in voice online. So we get to a game like Minecraft where you can't speak to each other. You can text chat, but it's really nice to have a voice component, and this one is well suited to gamers.
Yep. So it's where we communicate, and Carol posting in an Adventure in World, posting what they did on Hallowell server.
That's the way it's like Slack. You can also, sorry to interrupt, but you can also, anybody else wants to interrupt and ask questions, please do. Anyway, as you can see, we can post pictures of what we do, and it's very communicative. It's kind of like Google Plus in that respect. You can discourse about your activities. Okay, go ahead, Jane.
Okay, and we're also on groups.io this year, just newly set up. Yeah, these are the 3 different places we communicate. Okay, to share a couple of slides, I came across this player type, 4 different player types on Facebook. Bet show, it's a live streaming, and we have compete, collaborate, express, and explore. And this is what I found interesting because like we have different preferences, and in the following I will be showing you some of the pictures taken in Minecraft, and if you will, please try to guess like which type of player, players, or we are like, compete. Is it compete, or is it collaborate, or is it express or explore in the text chat? Okay. So this year, 2020, we started off here at our spawn point, and with Dakota giving us a tour around the server. Here's Heike, so right here we have Michio. She's from Japan, and we came together and had fun with her water slide. This is her house. She built a house, but she had a water slide, and we had fun. Okay, so next is Abu Fletcher, Don Carroll, and he's always asking, let's go for a run, something like that. So guess what type of what type of player he is. So
Explorer, I guess.
Yeah, explorer. We have an explorer in our community, and he Vance and Don always takes us out on a hike in Minecraft. And look at this view. This is at the end of the day. I took a picture of him in this magnificent view. This is Dakota. He and I, he helped me build my house. And so guess what, Dakota, like what type of player he is?
What are the choices?
Compete, collaborate, express, and explore.
I'd say collaborate.
Collaborate, yeah, he's a collaborator, but he's also
express?
Like express it. Yeah, for express, it's like he likes to build and design and express, like, yeah. Also, next is this is Hallowell server. Dakota built all this. This is Hallowell University, and this is Tricky and I and Ava. So you can see that he's express. He likes to build things. This is Maha's house on Hallowell server. Maha. He's also she's also she's the she's the one who helped us set up Discord server and Facebook community and help organize this year's event. Thank her very much. This is Maha Olive Tree, also setting up a scavenger hunt for us. If we step on this plate, then we're greeted with and told what to do.
She's in a number of virtual worlds. She really likes the what's it called? World of Warcraft and things like that. So she's into and Second Life, and she really likes virtual worlds. So it's nice to have these collections of people here who have a wider perspective.
Yep. And we had some fun being attacked by skeletons. It was, you know, and also, what about this? We're attacked by this spawner, the skeletons. So
that's me with the arrows.
Yeah, we're actually collaborating and killing the skeletons.
We had to find the spawner by accident, and then once we found it, we had to suppress it, and then we got to the point where it spawns skeletons, and the skeletons shoot arrows at you, and you can, if you kill the skeletons, because if you're there where they're spawning, you can kill them, and then you can collect their arrows. It's a really good way to get lots of arrows. They're hard to get in Minecraft.
Yep. Okay, and this is this is Gamester Rito from Israel, and he's in senior high school. He joined us, and Maddie built this parkour challenge, and he was trying it out. So, and this is Maddie hosting a splee activity or game for players on the server, and he teleported everybody here onto the server and played splee. So we have this tool, and what we need to do is to get rid of this what's it called, the snow plate, and for people to fall off this platform. Whoever stays there wins. So you see Olive and people
so you
falling
get rid
off
of it
the high place.
You fall through it.
So guess what type of player Maddie is?
He's the fifth kind.
Okay, let's see. Competitor, yes. He likes to compete. And this is the wool race that Maddie built for us, and he built 3 rounds of wool race, and we had to collect wools, and he's got a point system where the darker wools would we would get more points off of those, and it's not easy. He likes competition, and look, in the end there's lightning striking, so we were it was like life-threatening event for us, not suitable for adults, I think.
You know, there's a link to that. One of us should find it and put it in the Zoom chat.
Yeah. So we were really trying to tell each other where to stand and not to be strike fright by lightning.
How old is Matty?
11 years old.
He's 11 years old. And when we started out, we had Mariana and Philip. Philip was 11 years old, and he was also one of our gurus. And that was in 2015. So he pretty much taught me and some other people how to play Minecraft. So these are really great models, 11-year-old kids. So I suppose they brought Jane into this, and Mariana also. So this is really a nice learning environment, because you know you have to have, despite the trouble Maddie causes, we really respect him for the things he creates in there, and they're really amazing. So
yeah, thank you for tolerating Maddie, and he's learned a lot from our community. Yes, he's learned a lot from being part of our community. We learn from these kids.
This is the really wonderful. Yeah, I didn't know anything about Minecraft when I started in 2015, and I just started it up so that I could get people to teach me. and that succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. So I actually know something about Minecraft. Certainly not as much as people like Maddie do, but we're all learning bit by bit, you know, and we're learning from each other. And this is the key to EVO Minecraft MOOC, and also to EVO to some respect, to some extent.
Okay. Yes. So we celebrated with the fireworks he created, with Dakota being the first. Okay. And back to language learning. So Maddie is actually a second language learner, or foreign language learner of English, and by participating in the community, he's grown so much. For this year, he told me that he wanted to post, like, today, from now on, every day I will post something about Minecraft, and he started writing, and eventually I had a domain name for him on WordPress, and he's blogging all his gameplay, and I think that's a really good start.
So basically what he's doing in Minecraft, he's articulating in English.
Okay, we don't have our last page. So I guess we're gonna go into Minecraft. Shall we?
Sure, why not? Let's see, I might try to get there myself. We're sharing your screen, so let's see, somewhere in here there should be a Windows thing with a, there we go.
It's not.
Oh, I must have killed Minecraft. Okay.
Okay, it's not working well. It's lagging. Timed out. ZZ is still in there.
So we're where were we in Minecraft, by the way? I noticed it was a flat screen. It was a flat map.
That's the wool race that Maddie created for us.
Okay.
Okay, that's Maddie.
There is Maddie. Okay. Hi, Maddie.
为什么? Okay. 不要再笑了.
I'm just.
Perhaps I should stop share screening. Yes.
Okay, I could try to share mine if I can actually get to it. Or you could try it again. You could try sharing again.
Okay.
Let's see, I'm trying to connect to Minecraft myself. Could be overloading our resources. There we go. I think I've got it now. I'm going to join the server. Okay. If I succeed, do you want me to share, or do you want to do it yourself? Sometimes things just get a little slow. I can show you what I'm doing. Okay, this is where I am right now. I'm trying to log in, and it's not doing it. So I don't know if that's it's quite a lot of system resource. We're timed out. Okay. I'm going to stop the share. Okay. No, I don't know. Maybe we could just talk about it.
Either that or open up the 115 server.
Well, yes. Well, we could, but we don't really. The thing is that they were in the 112. That's the one that we have. We have our classic server, which we've been using since 2015. That's kind of the nice one. But then she mentioned Honeywell, which Dakota Redstone, one of our, he was our moderator for some time, but he's I don't know what you'd say. He's kind of a guru for us, and he has his own server. So when our server is housed at Ohio University, and they have power cuts, and it's in basically Aaron's office. So it's in a corner of his office, and the cleaners come in and mop and dislodge the plug, then they put us all offline for a while. So, but DAX seems to be a little bit more reliable, but it's a different environment, because in our server, we have we've been using it for 5 years, and we have lots of capabilities that we give ourselves. For example, when you die, you don't lose all your stuff, because we found that very frustrating. But DAX is a very purist environment, and so that basically is a little harder to play. Okay.
Perhaps I'll share the last slide right here. This is a summary by Dr. Don Carroll from Japan, and we were at JELT Call 2019, and this is his summary of our. We shared basically what we did in the EVO Minecraft community, and so he says that Minecraft, both as an online game and as diverse communities of practice, offers tremendous opportunities for L2 language interaction through play and exposure to real world English. So Maddie was in Minecraft, there's different biomes, and in the desert, in the forest, and Maddie's these are all vocabulary that he could pick up in an authentic kind of way, as compared with like textbook dialogues. Playing Minecraft is highly motivating and prompts learners to explore L2 resources on their own outside of the game. And so there's a lot of Minecraft videos and wikis, websites, forums on Minecraft, and he's been watching a lot of those, and this helped him tremendously in learning English and in his vocabulary. And thanks to Vance, he invited me to write an article on this, and I have this is analyzed YouTube video vocabularies on YouTube video, Minecraft YouTube videos, and if you're interested, this
that the link to our articles is in. Do you want me to share a screen and show what? Okay. It's basically okay. I'll just do that. So okay, thank you. So if I go back to this one, I suppose. Let's click the share button. Best of EVO, that would be this one right here. Okay, so this is this is our, when it comes up, this is the document you've all been going to. And if you come down to ours, I'll just scroll down to the table of contents. It's a very slow scroll. Okay, so okay, EVO Minecraft MOOC, when you go there, okay, there we are. It has I added our publications. So James is right here. So, and Don, by the way, is just trying to get into the room right now, so I'll let him in. But anyway, basically that's the link, that's the research that Jane did on the game that Maddie created, that she was showing us, the wool game. No, sorry, that was a different game. My mistake. Okay, so she did research on the vocabulary of Matty and another son of somebody in our group named Emmanuel from Brazil, and they were in conversation, and anyway, there are some articles that we've written there. Okay, I'm gonna. Don is trying to get in. That's Evan. Yep. He's there. You got it here. Yep. Okay. Any, of course, following on what we've just been talking about, any last words that you'd like to say about Minecraft, EVO Minecraft MOOC? This is Abu Fletcher.
Last words, first words?
Well, you know.
Well, I sort of came into it, you know, as a very much of a skeptic, and I think I've changed my mind on a lot of aspects of it, of how it's useful and why it, for me, is a fascinating kind of new area of exploring interaction.
And do you think it's useful with students, or you just kind of feel compelled to stay up late at night and play?
Well, I think I still see it as being more useful for child language development. Where we're talking about child language that happens to be in an L2, I'm less convinced of its utility for, let's say, my university level language learners, just because they may not choose to interact with it in the same way that children do.
Possibly. I was trying it with university level students and wasn't really getting their buy-in, but they were a strange group of students anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to, we've gone, I think it's about 20 minutes now. I don't know, is there anything else we need to do here, Jane? Or?
Well, have I missed the party? I thought we were starting at 11:20.
We were supposed to, but then Heike didn't come, so, or she isn't here at the moment. So we just took it on. In fact, actually right now, I don't know if Kirsten and Marina and Virginia would like to, and Katrine would like to, is that Sue? Is that your group? That's.
So Jane, have you already run through your presentation then?
Yes, I have.
And
well, I looked at all the slides. It's fine. So.
Okay. Would you like to, yeah, the last slide?
Go ahead, Jane.
Would you like to talk about the last slide?
Well, just the last slide was, you know, my summary of what I thought about it based on the CA research that I started on it. And I think that doing that project has motivated me to want to do a lot of other similar sorts of analysis of Minecraft-based interaction, or really, you know, online interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Were you going to show the last slide? I just started a screen share here. Oh, let's see, where is it? I don't know if I don't think I have it up here. Maybe here? You might have to show it, Jane.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't, no, this is English for the workplace. Okay, so I'll stop the share because I don't have that slide up.
Okay, let me share. Okay, this is mine. So yeah, Don, we were at the last point right here.
Right.
Yeah. Would you like
now,
to
really, that second paragraph is more how I view Minecraft as a motivation for actual language learning. I've actually always said that the amount of talk that goes on within the gaming is relatively limited. On the other hand, like you know, Maddie and others, they've simply gone outside and they've done an amazing job of learning on their own based on the YouTube tutorials, the websites, the forums, interacting outside. And I think that's a significant part of the game. You know, you can imagine the game itself is forming some core, but that core is actually a small part of a large community involved in doing this.
Mm-hmm. But I'm interested in the conversational analysis during gameplay.
I mean, I'm interested in that in the perspective. I believe there are going to be more and more online interaction. Minecraft happens to be something I'm looking at right now. It isn't so much I'm interested in Minecraft interaction as much as saying, what is the nature of online interaction? I can start with saying, is it the same as face-to-face interaction? If not, what are the differences? So we already know that chat rooms are structured in a different way than sort of face-to-face conversations. There's one particular book by Chris Jinks that he outlines all the details of that. But we don't really know so much about, is there some fundamental difference between face-to-face and face-to-face in a game? Based on what I saw in the Maddie Emmanuel interaction, it looks largely the same to me. I mean, obviously there's different affordances, things you can do, things you can't do within the gameplay.
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is perhaps it's pretty much the same face-to-face, but the point is in an EFL setting, we don't have any like English native speakers or, you know, other speakers who can communicate, you know, with or practice English speaking with.
Right.
So this is only through this virtual space, virtual world in Minecraft that they get to play and communicate in English because that's the only language that they have in common. So face to face, would Maddie talk in English face to face with his peers? Definitely not. He's going to speak Chinese. So I think one of the affordances of Minecraft is this virtual space where they can interact using the language, the common language. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's a big plus. And again, that's going to be more and more part of what is the nature of language learning. And you know, actually, at a recent interview, our university president asked me that did he think AI would make language teachers unnecessary. And what I quoted the old saying that computers will not replace teachers, but teachers who use computers will replace teachers who don't. And I think we can say, let's, you know, move away from just that word computer and replace it with sort of, you know, interactive online experiences. You know, I just think there's this point that in the future, teachers will simply not be able to say, I don't want to do that. I don't like it. It has no value.
Okay, I wonder if we could take, if there's anybody who wants to ask a question, you could ask it now. And then I think we need to move on because we're missing Heike, but Judy has just arrived. And of course, she's welcome to present. So we might, well, I mean, you know, if we want to finish at 1600, we would be in a little bit of a hurry. But we don't really have to do that either. So anybody have any comments or questions? Mike, or you?
I have a quick question. Yeah, I'm battling in and out of Minecraft, trying to find the time at the moment. I thought I'll have more time with the lockup, with the lock-in, but it's a lot less now than it was in the real classroom. Anyway, that's another story. My question is, what I haven't understood, I bought a small license for the Java application so I can actually enter the Minecraft world in single player and slowly get into your multiplayer through the server you mentioned, Jane. So does each of my students, if they want to do the same, connect with me, have to have their own Java ID as well? Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Yes, that's right. They each have to have their own login. They have to pay $30 for it. The alternative is you can use Minecraft Edu, which does not connect to our Java server. But if you just want to keep it in your environment, if you want to play with your students, you can do that for, I think it's $5 per student. You get 20 licenses.
It's actually now with the COVID, I think they've got some sort of a special super duper deal, I think.
It might, yeah. So, but that's at Minecraft Edu. It does not. It's it's
totally different. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's a Windows 10. It's an app based. So it's economical, but it's limiting as far as you're just going to be interacting in your own space. You can connect computers within your environment, and so if you want to play with us, you're going to have to. If you want them to play with it. Now, my students in UAE were good hackers; they could hack into things. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been informed by my students already. So that,
Okay.
yeah, the ones that want to know will know. Yeah.
Okay.
okay, well, I think we could. We asked the English for the Workplace people if they wanted to present to us at about this time. So maybe is this a good time for you guys? English for the Workplace? Is that Kirsten and Katrine and Marina and Virginia?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like to share the screen, so I'll manage the slides. And can I just ask my 4 co-presenters, that Sue, Marina, Katrin, and Virginia, to come on with a sound and camera?
Yes,
So I'm
yes,
just going
sure.
to start sharing this.
Absolutely.
You should be
Wonderful.
able to do that. No
Hello.
problem.
Okay, can you all see our slides?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, good. So, okay, well, I think it's actually Sue Annan who organized the whole thing. And maybe, Sue, you're going to start talking a bit about what we actually did in English for the Workplace.
Yeah, first I'd like to mention the fact that this came out of a discussion with IATEFL BSIG, and BSIG has always been very interested in what EVO are doing, and we've been involved from time to time over the last 7 or 8 years that I can think of. And what we wanted to do was give some of our own mix of specialists from many different countries and many different fields a chance to give back to the overall community, either for people who were business teachers already or teachers who are thinking about dabbling in business English in the future. So our plan was to look this time at how we could help them develop their competences in the classroom, and whether they were working one-to-one, in groups, or even with university students. So that was the starting position. What we did was we asked for our experts, not only from IATEFL BSIG, but also just business teachers and trainers around the world, to get involved with offers of help. And we came up with some quite interesting ways of helping the community at large. We started by looking at university teaching. We then moved on to tools and ideas of things we could do to help the pre-business learners. We looked then at business as a different field, and looked at ideas for helping people in the different fields to develop. We then looked at case studies, particular tools for developing. We got the people involved to feedback and share their ideas. And we decided this time, because of the end of Google+, to use Schoology, which I think was actually an overwhelming success, because we could see very easily what was happening in the interaction. I'd like now to pass you on to the actual takeaways and what happened when we actually started teaching.
Okay, so I start with the first one. What we focused on was basically getting people into how to teach particular aspects of business English. So Shweta Parakari did something about how to teach vocabulary to pre-service students, which I think is not only important for business, it's a lot when you teach vocabulary in a general way, and also when you teach vocabulary at university. So here, so she uploaded a lot of videos. So we had a lot of speakers or moderators and presenters who really interacted via video, which I think is great for an asynchronous platform because you get an idea of the person who's teaching you. And then they also uploaded their PowerPoint slides and gave everybody a lot of work to do. So we were always very busy. And here are two examples. So Shweta talked about collocations and how to teach collocations and gave us examples to chew, like, for example, can you find these collocations? And what I appreciated was that she put us back into the learner's position, which I think is always a very good idea if teachers become learners again, and to have to think about how would I do this, how would I do that, and what is actually in it for my students. Then we had also in another week, two people, Ekaterina Krasikova, who focused on professional email writing, what's important, what kind of things do you need there, because despite the fact that we move into Slack and messaging and all of this, emails are still very important in the workplace. And then we had Adi Rajan, and he did a fantastic job on language in an IT environment. I think this is something we all really need to look at now because we are all moving online, and he was focusing on communication issues when you don't use functional language clearly, about giving instructions, what the virtual team has to do, how to behave in a conference call. And he also chose a fantastic video about daily stand-up meetings. I finally understand now what daily stand-up meetings are. And asked us really to explore the meeting with our students. And I think that was a fantastic thing. We get so many practical hands-on tips. I have a student who works with Agile. She does this kind of IT project work. She has daily stand-ups. So we could explore the language of this video 2 days after I learned this from Adi. So I think it was also actually a pretty good success for all of us. And it was very interactive, despite the fact that we live in different time zones. There were lots of comments on Schoology. We're going to show some examples later. And that is basically, I think, the first takeaway, getting new ideas of how to teach language and how to teach vocabulary or specific business skills. So that's basically the first takeaway, which is where we move to the second takeaway, and that is Marina taking over.
Yes, hello. I hope you can hear me all right. So I'm going to talk about all the practical tips we shared in winter about how to create tasks for business English classes in various formats. And it was really amazing because, you know, the range of the tasks suggested was really wide. Let me start by talking about activities for Esp Courses, for example, for finance and accounting professionals, which was delivered by Kirsten Wächter. And, you know, she proved that finance doesn't have to be boring. It can actually be fun, a lot of fun. You know, step by step, Kirsten showed us how to design engaging activities for vocabulary presentation. I'll just give you a few examples, like word clouds where different colors are used for different ideas, smart art, word families, word patterns, collocations, hierarchies. There were a lot of, you know, examples of crosswords, beautiful worksheets with, you know, step-by-step instructions, and that was really amazing. Besides, Kirsten showed us how to use Realia, you know, ranging from materials about financial scandals to some more serious video talks. Well, another thing I'd like to talk about is how to create podcasts with our students, not only to use those which already exist and are available online. And Silke Riegler talked about that for us. First, she concentrated on the benefits of creating our own podcasts with our business English students, because, well, basically that these kinds of assignments not only involve all kinds of language skills, they improve students' vocabulary, grammar. It's a kind of authentic task. They create something new, and that's very motivating and fun for them. Besides, she proved that it doesn't take a lot of preparation, and the technical aspect is not that challenging. Well, a smartphone with a voice recording app should be enough. A very valuable thing that Silke provided for us was this model, which you can now see. It's a model of how to actually do podcasting with your students, starting with the preparation phase, onto recording, and then to the actual podcasting. And actually the tasks which were provided gave us, again, the step-by-step guide of what we can do with our students in our classroom. This is something which I definitely am going to take away with me. If I could now move on to one more point. This was dedicated to how to create not ordinary role plays for our business English classes, but extended role plays where there is a story and it is broken down into a few episodes, just like, you know, a series, but a series which our students themselves act out in different classes, like not in just one class in 20 minutes, but in various classes. This was presented by me, and I tried to give a step-by-step guide on how to create role plays from the conception of this up to the actual realization and the students acting them out. So we looked at game elements and mechanics which exist, and I showed how I personally select them for a particular game, a role play which I called like the Big London Meetup, and how they can be selected to fit the learning objectives of your particular course and your students' needs. Then I also showed how well it's possible to create a storyline, break it into a few episodes, and well, think about the relationship between the characters, the participants. Actually, I had 12 in this particular role play because I have 12 students in my group. Well, and then how to actually organize this in one, let's say, diagram, and then turn this diagram into the actual descriptions, character cards, and role cards. Yeah, so, and the final point I made was, yes, the final picture here, what to bear in mind when asking your students to act all these things out, and how to implement this like in 3 or 4 classes or maybe more classes throughout the semester, so that you actually practice the language that you are teaching your students and use these role plays for assessment. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, and I have to say that was also amazing stuff. We could actually watch the video that she recorded, and that takes us to our third takeaway, which is I think Virginia's role. Hold on a second. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, we focused on business. I mean, what's happening now with business communication, that most of the interactions taking place in corporate life are among non-native speakers of English. So we thought it was time to revisit the role of error correction in spoken performance in business English classes. Many teachers, whether in business English settings or general English contexts, have seen their main classroom function as being an identifier and a corrector of errors. The whole process of teaching in the past was seen as being a gradual elimination of student error. And under this conception, errors were defined as deviations from standard English norms. Native speakers being, of course, the target to achieve and imitate. So we discussed in a very interactive forum and a very enthusiastic group of practitioners, some of whom were already teachers of English, quite experienced teachers of business English, and others were just transitioning into the business world. So we reflected on BELF, the BELF and ELF mindset change, the perspective, I mean, how this could change our views regarding correction of mistakes and giving feedback in oral performance in business English sessions. So in order to reflect and revise this area in the light of ELF and BELF, we had to, we discussed what is language in the ELF or BELF perspective. We revisited the notions of grammatical accuracy versus fluency. We also went into what is a mistake in this new perspective? Is it really a deviation from the norm, Is it? I mean, do we still have native English norms as our target, as our final destination? We also explored in passing this question of interlanguage and whether the destination is always native speaker norm and then interlanguage is this path. This path that the learners have to go through to get again to the final destination. Some people mentioned that no matter how much we want to alter this path of acquisition, learners have their own internal agendas that cannot be changed. Then we also discussed some techniques having to do with, before I go into that, thinking about the standard English as a norm, yes or no. We discussed what to correct, whether we would be focusing on pragmatics versus grammar mistakes, which of the two would take priority in a business English context, always having or taking into account intelligibility as the destination or as the target, not rather than standard English as a norm, right? We discussed briefly then the role of a teacher. Is the teacher the one that should correct? Going back to what I said before, is the role of a teacher the corrector, the one that has to eradicate mistakes? What about peer correction? What about the learner doing self-correction? And then we also went in passing into the idea of when to correct in class, whether to implement spot correction or hot correction, or whether to implement delayed or cold correction. And we finally came to the conclusion that choosing one strategy or the other basically has to do with whether it's fluency time, and then if it's fluency time, we would choose delayed or cold correction. If it's accuracy time, we would, in most cases, apply the idea of spot or hot correction. So we, the takeaways for attendees were basically this idea of reflecting and challenging teachers' views in the light of BELF and ELF. That's basically what we discussed during my session.
Okay, and we also had something about, of course, a needs analysis. A colleague of ours, Andrzej Stesik, he did something, he really created a whole case. He gave us the needs analysis, explained what it's good for, and then our participants had to design the entire course program, which was also very collaborative and competitive at the same time. And Virginia already mentioned BELF, and this is something that our fourth speaker is going to talk about. That's Katrin Lichterfeld, who's talking about how we use different concepts in the business English classroom. Katrin?
Yes, hello, welcome. So first of all, I would like to start with something that our colleague Marcella Harrisberger presented, an agile classroom using project management tools. And this approach may have come in very handy having the COVID-19 and the move to teaching online in mind, because she suggested something consisting of 3 different pillars. That means on the one hand, Trello as the heart of it, and being a visualizing project management tool where you get an overview of your whole English course. You could use it for face-to-face courses, but as well for teaching online. And as everything is at one glance, the flipped classroom as second pillar could come in very handy. And students are asked to carry out any activities apart from speaking on their own. So that means increasing a learner autonomy and motivation at the same time. As underlying principle, she made use of the Scrum framework as well. And here it is important to consider that it is not necessary to be fully aware of all the details, but to have it as an underlying principle, especially paying attention to the agile thing. That means showing students how important it is to plan strategies, to carry them out, to monitor them, and to adjust them whenever necessary. So we are talking about a kind of learning cycle that is implemented within this whole approach. First of all, some participants were a little bit skeptical whether only experienced learners or those being familiar with the IT business, where the Scrum especially is used quite a lot, or whether they have to be expert in project management. But later it turned out that the participant could kind of transfer this approach to any teaching context, and they highly liked the idea of getting this feeling of achievement, which is highlighted by the drag and drop facility that is added by Trello. So Trello is very similar to a Moodle platform, and it could work as your LMS. It is free of charge and easy to use, could be used for collaborative projects, and I think that especially the agile approach is something that we should have in mind, because it also increases the importance of employability skills. That means being able to adjust to a world of VUCA, and that brings us to other aspects. The world of VUCA is characterized by 4 principles. That means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And how to deal with this. On the other hand, we are in a situation where English has a status and is as widely used as no other language before. And it is very likely for our learners that there is a percentage figure of 80%, that there will not be any native speaker included. That kind of refers to what Virginia already mentioned. As a consequence, the Council of Europe, which published the first Common European Framework of Reference in 2001, decided to update its version and to publish the companion volume in order to offer some answers how to deal with all of these things. According to the OECD, we need 21st century skills, the 4 C's, collaboration, creativity, communication, and critical thinking have to be included in order to deal with the complexity of our VUCA world. And that means that the current edition of the CEFR kind of gives us a framework that moves from the learner as a speaker, making use of language only. And if we ask our learners when carrying out a needs analysis, they often only mention language aspects, and they are not really aware that areas like communication styles or maybe intercultural differences may be the reason for the difficulties that they have when communicating internationally. And for that reason, we have to consider that our learners have to behave as social agents. They have to become aware how English is used internationally. They have to become aware of the fact that they have a lot of linguistic and cultural repertoires at their hand they should make use of. Non-verbal things as well, which are especially important when looking at teaching online or meeting online. And having this in mind, we really have to consider that the recent discoveries of research, and now ELF comes into the discussion too, are important too, because the native speaker model disappeared from the new companion volume. The focus is now on intelligibility. And as Jennifer Jenkins, the so-called pioneer of the English as a lingua franca research, already demonstrated, pronunciation is the key factor of communication breakdown. And that means that English as a lingua franca has to be considered as the central part. But that does not mean that standard English has to disappear altogether, because the context our learners have to work in have to be considered too. And depending on the situation, depending on the cultural influences, they will start a kind of conversational contract with their communication partners. And if we move to the next slide, we'll have a closer look at the concept of business English as a lingua franca. it is very important to have a flexible BELF mindset. You cannot teach BELF. And this is something that the participants of the EVO really became aware of. There are deeply rooted beliefs, and we have attitude, we have assumptions concerning the importance of the native speaker role. And we have to be able to make use of means of accommodation and intelligibility to really adapt to the different situations we found ourselves in. The research of BELF came up with a very important issue, communities of practice. They are considered to be ideal places of informal learning. The employees suddenly turn into competent and confident users of the language. And it's not only English that they use. So we have many things that are important, and it was quite interesting to see how the participants kind of learned the complexity and try to put it into practice.
So, and that's where we need to wrap up, because Vance is already messaging me on this, because we have a few more presenters and we started actually 5 minutes earlier. So thank you very much to Katrin for this kind of dense version. I put some ideas on if you want to try Trello in the chat box as well. So just to wrap up the takeaway for our participants, that's what we discussed 2 days ago, when we thought about, okay, how can we do this? What do we want to share? I think what was great for them, you see here some of the materials they uploaded and some of the discussions. So we had lots of comments feeding on each other, was the very meaningful interaction for the participants as well. They really made the topics their own, and they worked on how they were used in their context. And we have now such a fantastic list of resources, all kinds of articles, videos, and so on. And I think what they really got was the confidence to explore on their own after the course. And they used the whole thing as a think tank for brainstorming, further brainstorming. For us as the presenters and moderators, it was just also a very rich resource that we shared, because it's really interesting to see the insights you get on your own input from other often experienced teachers. We had a very supportive group of both presenters and participants who are very active. And I think we all like this collective beehive intelligence that sort of built on ideas and get us to develop further. And again, we also like the collection of resources, and that the moderators were also taking part in the other course modules. So we were also participants and learners. And I think that's it from the English for the Workplace group. Thank you very much.
When the screen share went off, it switched my screens around. Yeah, thank you very much. I really hate to rush people off, because your presentation is very interesting. To perpetuate it a little bit further, does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask the workplace people, the workplace presenters? I'm interested in Trello. You said it could be a portal for your group. I found it a little domineering, but maybe that was the way that someone was using it.
We used it a lot in projects, for example, when you work with lots of different texts, so for publishing projects. And the nice thing is the visuality, so that you can really say, okay, so we have the resources, we have the assignments, and when the student hands in an assignment, the assignment is taken through the different stages, the peer-to-peer feedback, the teacher feedback, and then the completed. So students also get a sense of that they are achieving something. And it makes sense to do this. You can embed all kinds of links. You can embed things to your SharePoint. You can upload files. And I find it a lot easier to manage than some of these really complex tools that you have for project management. And I put another link in. I don't want to take time from the other presenters, but I put another link in if you want to find more, want to find out more about Agile, Scrum, and Sprint, and that kind of thing. And I see, Sue, is Marcella's video on YouTube? Maybe we can post the link to Marcella's video, because she did such a fantastic job of explaining it. So.
That would be great.
I don't know if you've seen it. I'll just put a link in the text chat here, but there's I'm blogging all of these. I've got the first 2 videos done already. Let me see if I can find just doing a little bit of multitasking here, and things aren't responding perfectly. All right.
Vance, can you check the waiting room, please, Vance?
Yes, of course. Okay, so I'm checking the waiting room quite frequently. But anyway, that link that I just put in there, which sorry, that didn't go to everybody because Mike had just asked me to check the.
Kirsten,
Okay.
can you post the link again? Perhaps you.
I haven't posted anything yet. I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
And what I was coming to, and let me check the waiting room, make sure that everybody is being let in. I'm not sure what happened to it. Anyway, but at that link that I just put there, which is the blog for this, all the text chats are going there. Everything is going there with all the links. So if you put links in the text chat, they will be posted to the blog that's archiving this material. So please do put anything. Yes, I see people are waiting there. I've let Martha in already. Maybe she's having, and Juliana as well. Maybe she's having, maybe they're having some bandwidth issues there that are dropping out again. Okay, so anyway, no problem. No problem telling me to go and check it. It's just fine. The waiting room is just so in case there's any problem, I can move people to the waiting room and kind of, it's kind of like a virus chest, you know, you can keep people there if there's any problem. Okay, so anyway, thank you very much. I think the next people up, if I'm not mistaken, who would it be? Who do you think it is? It could be, it's the Flip Learning people. So it's Marta, who is now here, and Jeff, if he's here, and Diana, and Gabriella, and Mike. So welcome, people. So, and they're talking about flipped learning. It's hard to read because they've turned it upside down.
Okay, let me just find the presentation.
No worries. Yeah, you can do a screen share. Hey Jeff, how you doing? Last time I saw
Hey,
you,
Vance.
you were in Bangkok.
I was a little small postage stamp of a screen.
Yeah, cool. Glad to have you here in this session. I do know Jeff though, face to face. I know he's not just a virtual entity, and he actually does exist somewhere. He's over there in Oregon somewhere.
Where it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Not my
cool.
best time.
Okay. It's like 11 o'clock here. It's also not my best time, but anyway, there we are. We compromise. Okay, so we're going to hear about flipped learning. And then after that, there's going to be Nagla telling us about grammar and TESOL. And then we're going to hear from Judy, who's going to be talking about teaching English to EFL to young learners. Okay. So
we have a wonderful tradition in flipped learning. Every year we try to have at least one newcomer on our moderating team. And the only job of that newcomer is that they do this session. So ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mike in Greece.
Hey, Mike. All right.
Hey.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Mike.
Hi. Well,
but the rest of us are going to sing along.
Oh, great. I'm just doing the introductions. No. On a serious note, yeah, I was just a participant last year. And I really got a lot out of it, apart from the pedagogy and the methodology, or the model, I should say, or method maybe, of flip learning and how it's used. I really got the feel of a community of educators that are open and willing to share what they have and their knowledge, and I really also had a good time. So this year, I was asked to tag along as well, and I did. So this is a flip learning team this year. It consisted of Jeff, Magoto, Carolina, Martha, Juliana, Diana, Gabriella, and me, Mike.
Hey, Mike, you want to share your screen?
Oh, I didn't share it, really? So, here it goes. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, as you can understand, the target group is for newcomers to the flip learning, and also to experienced flippers as well. And it's a very warm and welcoming team, sessions, even through the throughout the weeks of attending, or even before with the designing of the actual session was quite interesting for me. It was my first time, and basically we moved along from there. Do I suggest? Well, we used a couple of platforms. One of the main platforms was the LMS, the Canvas, and through that we also used Anvil, and that's from the University of Oregon, the Yamada Learning Center, and it's really quite cool because it's a module that fits into Canvas, and behind that it's an easy tool where you can actually design and structure the pages that the participants actually viewed. And it also has a H5P, which is an open platform using various tools. You import your video a bit like Edpuzzle, and you can stop it and make your own quizzes and stuff like that. So it was really good tools that I came across, and now I'm actually started using some of these tools in my own lessons. Communication was mostly done through the Canvas LMS, through the commenting section, direct messaging, and a bit through our Facebook group, Flip Learning and Language Teaching. Great.
Like all groups, I think we had to deal with that loss of Google Plus as our primary communication platform. And I think we missed a lot of the affordances of Google Plus. Canvas proved to be okay.
Yep. So moving along, who's next?
Okay, I'll start with week one. So, so since we've been giving this session for a couple of years, for maybe 4 or 5 years, Jeff?
5 years.
5 years. Every year we tweak it, we add new things, we make changes. So this year, what we did was we started with, of course, what flipped learning is, and getting participants familiarized with the pillars. And something that we've added, I think since maybe 2 years ago, is mindset. So we started with the concept of innovator's mindset from George Coureau's book, The Innovator's Mindset. And then we've moved into growth mindset and teaching or offering different resources to understand the difference between a growth and a fixed mindset, and how educators need a growth mindset in order to get into flipping, because it requires a change. Like you literally need to change your mindset to start flipping. So this year we started with mindset, and of course all the intros. Then we went, and then what we do is that we divide the pillars of flipped learning into the weeks. So you will see the F is flexible environment, L, learning culture, I, intentional content, P, professional educator. So every week we go a little more in depth in each of these pillars with specific types of tasks, such as understanding how we can lesson plan within a flipped learning approach. Understanding the styles, and we all of the moderators share our styles of planning. Then, get into the whole planning situation, right? Lesson plan design. Then curate or create your own material if you want to. And then there's a reflection on educators as professionals. And within this process, there's peer assessment among the participants. So they check their own lesson plans. They give each other comments. And of course, we're always there to provide feedback on how they're doing with this planning process. I don't know if I probably missed a lot of things, but if any other moderator wants to step in and add. Oh, And we also have we have synchronous sessions on synchronous sessions on Sundays, and we had a couple of guest speakers, which we will mention a little later.
Yeah, there's something I would like to add. Hello, everyone. And it is that we use the pillars from the Flip Learning Network, and we happen to have Helene Marshall here. She is not a current moderator, but she's the mom of these sessions. So shout out to Helene, who is here in the audience. And so we are now, as you saw, it's been taken over by Colombians, this thing, for Colombians. Initially, it was Helene, Jeff, father and mother are here, but it was also John and Kevin and Khaled, and they have all stepped out, and we have stepped in, and we're all receiving every year new moderators. So we need to add some variety to those flags. So we welcome new participants every year. And the pillars, we have decided to stick to the pillars because even though every year new things emerge on flipped learning, I think it's a very rapid progression and growth in a topic. Every year new things come up, standards and indicators and many more things. We have stuck to the pillars because we think they are easy, they are nice, and they are they're a very good way to provide structure to our session for newcomers. So we don't want to overwhelm people. Most of them are coming now to our session with some basic knowledge of what flipped learning is, but what they want to do is to learn how to do it. And so I guess the people who took our session this year are very happy now that they have had to go to full online teaching, because they may have collected some tools and done some ideas, gathered some ideas for what's happening right now. So the next slide precisely is the tools that we use. So Mike, could you?
Yep.
Thank you. So as Mike said, we used Anvil, we used Canvas, which I didn't know before and I absolutely loved. It was great. It was a very robust tool. We used Flipgrid in some of the tasks. Twitter is always something we use to communicate with participants during the week, and Zoom for synchronous sessions. So I think these were kind of like basic tools for most sessions, say, for example, Flipgrid, Zoom, and Twitter, but we definitely invite you to take a look at Canvas. Well, and Anvil is from the University of Oregon. So I guess you'd have to talk to Jeff there. Okay, so I'm off. Who's next?
Okay. Jeff?
I'll talk about participants, yeah. So I think probably like a lot of EVO sessions, or just about every free online learning class I've ever participated in, the enthusiasm at the outset is tremendous. The numbers of people who actually show up by the end of week one is significantly less, and those who endure and sort of follow the session throughout is an even smaller group. So I think we started out with around 260. We had about 160 who were active, with an average of about 80 a week of unique logins. And I think 27 actually earned our certificate of participation, which meant that they both submitted a lesson plan and participated in peer and self-reflection on that lesson plan. Thanks to Mike, our participation from Greece was enormous, and they were not only some of our best participants, but they brought a real sunny spirit to times that became darker as we went on. A lot of initial interest from Russia and Ukraine, but not a lot of follow through, and a fair amount of participation from from Serbia, Croatia, and Slovenia. Those, I think, were our largest groups of participants, and Argentina and Chile and Colombia too. I think we'll talk next about who showed up on our Sunday morning sessions, and I'll pass that to back to Martha. I think she's going to talk about her guests.
Just add a comment here, which we talked about with Jeff and the crew earlier, is that there was quite a slight increase this year in the participants that finished and attended the sessions?
Yeah.
Okay. Guest speakers, Diana, is that right?
Yeah, so I'll start. We had different guest speakers each week. So in like at the end of week 1, we had Adrian Lace. And Adrian Lace, I'm gonna send a link of his, well, everything he's done. He's a researcher. He works at Miyagi University in Japan, and we invited him to join us for this session because he has become an expert in, or he's been an expert in flipped learning. He's done a lot of research with flipped learning, but also he's transitioned from flipped learning into researching about mindset, which is what I've done myself as well. So he was very kind to join us at, I think it was midnight his time in Japan. And he connected with us for almost an hour, talking about his research, mindset, flipped learning, etc. So
And good
we
wine.
were very happy. Yeah, well, he drank some wine, and it was a wonderful session, and we were very honored to have him join us. You know, just to talk about flipped learning and the connection with mindset.
Yeah, during the week 2, we had Ken Bauer, the current chair of the Flip Learning Network. He was in Colombia for Flip Tech Latin America last year, and so we had been in touch since 2015 online, and we got to meet him face to face last year here in Colombia, so that was wonderful. And he joined us for the session to share his view on the Flip Learning Network view on the future of flipped learning and how things are going. So it was fantastic as well to have him around.
And in week 3, we had our inimitable Vance Stevens, who was giving a keynote in Bangkok, Thailand about the flipped classroom and teacher training. So we sort of made that our live presentation of the week. And I'll let Vance say one word about that.
And then in week 4, sorry,
word. Kind of like my plenary.
One word from Vance. One word from Vance.
Flip it. Okay, how about this word? 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so in the next slide, you will find our next speaker for week 4. And well, we have, he's a science teacher, David, and he helped us with some information of his work as a flipper. And he has been flipping for over 10 years now. And he enlightened us with some strategies on how to create and record your own videos when you want to show content to the students. So he shared with us these innovative ways and unique ways to create videos and how to incorporate those in his classes, in our classes too.
Okay, and for week 5, which was all about professional teachers as professional educators, we have George Couros, who was giving us some very useful insights, in-depth insights about what is it to be a professional educator, what is our role in this never-ending cycle of learning, not only from students but from teachers as well. So you can move on.
Oops, sorry. Guys, takeaways?
You start, Mike.
Yep.
Oh, great. Where do I start? Leon, takeaways. It was really good to interact with other educators around the world. You know, it was only my 2nd year and in flipped for, I think it's my 4th year with EVO, only just started recently. It's always a pleasure in connecting with other educators, and the experience you get in sharing knowledge and in you know, and the interaction that happens, it's just overwhelming. and it continues. The connection continues, and the idea of this electronic village is alive, and it's moving, and it's, you know, it's very difficult to explain to other professionals that don't actually experience the same. That's why everywhere I go, I try to talk as much as I can about the EVO sessions. I think one of the big things, like, you know, 1.5 to 2 years ago, I didn't know about that much about mindset, and even though I was part of the open mindset and being a thinker, I think one of the good thing is actually connecting with the idea of making mistakes and learning from your mistakes and passing that on to your students, and preparing meaningful and purposeful tasks. So as we can see from the comments from both Fatima and Julieta, that the way you approach your task, having a growth mindset in mind, and the whole notion of empowering your students in the group workspace and taking out whatever you can from the group workspace and putting it into the individual workspace. I think that's what gave an experience to all participants and to co-moderators as well. Okay, and I won't mention the tools that we get exposed to as moderators, like this year with a lot of like Canvas and heaps of other tools and Padlet and it just goes on and on. Rubrics and what have you. You're always left with a lot of ideas to work on, and it just keeps on going. So would anyone else like to add to that? Martha?
I think one of the biggest I think one of the biggest takeaways that I have every year is the fact that when we start a new year of EVO, there are educators who come back, and they come back every year. We've had educators who have taken EVO who maybe 4 years ago joined us, and then the following year they came back, and then they come back and they come back. And as a moderator, what that tells us is that what we are working on and the changes that we make to this session is relevant and meaningful for educators, enough for them to come back and dedicate 5 weeks a year, you know, to learn together with us. So I guess taking into account the current situation we're living in, and maybe not so much connected to EVO, but to the topic of flipped learning, I know that many of us have been contacted to help out, you know, in this whole, we've been asked to, you know, put our school online. You know about flipped learning, can you help us? I know Diana, you know, she was kind of named the, I don't know, the pedagogical something. I don't remember the exact term, but at her school, they told her, like, you need to help us out. Yes. And I know Carolina, I know like more from the Colombians in Colombia. The 4 of us have been contacted to help in this transition into putting videos, flipping, etc. So I think that's a great takeaway, you know, with taking into account this current situation. Like flipping definitely is relevant to what we're living right now.
Okay, let me interject just to, if anybody has a question, maybe Mike, we would like to ask if anybody has a question, or did you want to make a point? That's quite all right as well. Just trying to move things. We have 3 more speakers, which is fine. We'll go over time. We don't have to close everything up. Everything is fine. Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Just
to put a final point on Martha's, of all of the participants, perhaps the most satisfying was John Graney, who was one of the founders of this EVO. And he's retired and finds himself back teaching part-time in a community college because they have such a need for students. And he said, I need to take this EVO for myself this time. And so nice modeling and reflection of how we're all always teachers and learners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we like to take questions from the audience. Dawn had one in the chat, but
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Don has one in the chat. It's been answered from Elaine. Can we redefine flipped learning as a combination of synchronous and non-synchronous online learning?
I was answering in the chat that precisely flipping doesn't necessarily require technology or online learning. And well, Carolina and I have worked a lot in class flip. So if you're flipping in class and you don't have technology, it can be done. So not necessarily is the response. Yes, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
And you can do it all fully online, like with the SOFLA, what Lane is putting there, the synchronous online flip learning approach. So you can do it at as many levels as you need. As many levels as, sorry, you heard that? Okay. As many levels as you need and want, like fully online, not online, blended, mixed. I mean, it's just very versatile, I think.
okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate your spending. I really hate to cut this off. This could go for another half hour easily. Just what the points you just brought up, how you can do this in many different environments, is another half hour right there. Maybe you could post something we could read in the chat. But
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to move on to, we've got Nagla, grammar for TESOL. She's the next one up. And then Heike, Mr. Slot, but she's circling and she's ready for landing now. So I think we can work her in. And then Judy and Neves are going to talk about teaching EFL to young learners. So we might take us a little bit over the top of the hour, but that's okay. We'll tolerate it. So Nagla, are you ready? Yes, you are. I can see. Okay. Hi, Nagla.
Okay. Let me. Do you have my PowerPoint, or shall I share it from?
You can share it. Yeah, please share it.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a second.
Do you know how to do that?
Yeah. Just a second. Sorry.
No
I should
problem.
have been prepared. I thought you would share it. Just a second. Okay.
It's okay. We all need a break.
All right. Can you see it now, or?
No, you have to hit the share button, and then you have to select something. And you also have, there's a blue share button once you've selected the window. Yes, there we go. You got it.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah,
okay. So hello, everyone. I first would like to thank you, Vance and Jane, for organizing this event, and thanks to all the EVO team. So this was my first time creating and moderating a session on EVO. So I'll be talking a little bit about this. So my session, as you can see, is grammar for TESOL. Maybe I should have the slideshow here. Okay.
Yeah, just hit the present. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, a little bit about myself. My name is Nagla Salim, and I'm originally from Egypt. I've been living in Toronto, Canada for over 24 years. My experience is mostly in teaching English for academic preparation and introduction to linguistics and intercultural communication courses at the university and college level. My co-moderator was Nelly Deutsch, and I'll be talking about Nelly on several occasions during the presentation. Okay, so a little, this outline, a little bit about the session, looking at the session at a glance, and then going through the weekly content and activities that stood out for me as well as the participants. And I will also be sharing some ideas that I felt worked for me as a first timer and some helpful suggestions for those who are interested in moderating EVO for the first time or co-moderating for the first time. Okay, so this is a screenshot of my session, Grammar for TESOL. And the hosting platform was Nelly, and I'd like to thank Nelly very much. She offered me the space on Moodle when I was participating in the moderator training session back in October and November. And it was interesting because a year earlier, I was a participant on the Moodle for Teachers, and it was interesting to see how it all came back to me as I was working on my own session this time. I was a little bit nervous at first, but I always remembered what Nelly told us when we were participating in her Moodle for Teachers. Don't worry, you'll not break anything. So, so I was really encouraged to use Moodle, even though it was my very first time. My rationale was for Grammar for TESOL was that I felt a lot of the times we make grammar teaching choices or practical considerations as we teach and so on, and we don't really know why we do it, or maybe we cannot really articulate a reason or justify why we make these grammar teaching choices and so on. And a lot of discussions happen in a staff room, and I felt that why not talk about this in a grammar session. My aim was specifically for new teachers, but then I thought maybe I can extend it to more experienced teachers to maybe share their ideas, to maybe relearn or unlearn the way they teach grammar. So the session objectives were mostly to look a little bit at some theory and knowledge aspects when it comes to teaching grammar in the English second or foreign classroom, English as a second language or foreign language. And then to look at some practical aspects. So we looked at lesson planning and some activities, and also error correction and what practical considerations are considered with error correction, and again, how can we justify that? The first week, of course, like most of the EVO sessions, we have the introductions and so on. What the activities that stood out were the online survey. So the online survey was intended to get people to think about what they believe, what their grammar beliefs are, what is a grammar, and learning grammar for them and so on, whether they're native or non-native speakers. And it was interesting because we had participants from everywhere, from the US, from Japan, from Russia, Ukraine, Serbia, Egypt, so many backgrounds, and also as far as their areas of expertise and teaching experiences. There were new teachers, and there were more experienced teachers. There were teachers who were mostly teaching English as a second or foreign language, or teaching content-based courses to English as an additional language learners. Another thing that I felt was, again, very engaging to the session participants was to share the results of the survey and then get them to comment on those results as well. And they could see a lot of similarities in how people think about grammar and the importance of grammar and whether to teach it explicitly or implicitly and why and so on. Another interesting activity that I felt, again, was quite successful was the grammar metaphors on Padlet. And I have the link in the shared document that Jane and Vance has organized. So they were asked to create a metaphor that they have for grammar, and then explain that metaphor. Why do they think of that metaphor as best representing their idea of learning or teaching grammar and so on? What I did was in my weekly summary PowerPoint, I gave a sort of a visual representation of the participants' metaphors. for grammar. So it was very interesting. I was really amazed with the level of creativity that people had about grammar metaphors, and it was delightful to see their explanations. So it was great. And also a few of them had not used Padlet. So it was good to be trying their hands at new tools while interacting with the content and reflecting and so on. Week 2, we mostly looked at the knowledge aspect. So I shared some resources, articles and videos, and I used online tools like Quizlet and so on for grammar terminology. And teachers were, some of them were introduced to, but others were aware, but maybe needed to also reflect on pedagogical knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge. And also, which is now quite relevant these days, is technological pedagogical content knowledge, to add a little bit of online tools to that. So they were asked to use some new presentation tools that they have not used before, like eMaze and Bisme and so on. And they were invited to choose a grammar point and then decide on how they would present that, or how they would, what kind of knowledge they would need to learn about that grammar point. So let's say the present perfect, what content knowledge you need to know about present perfect? And then how are you going to deliver that? What pedagogical knowledge do you need? And then combining those, and also thinking about what online tools will be helping you either to deliver that point and make it clear to your students, or get them to practice using it as well. Moving on, the third week was looking at some practical considerations. So first we brainstormed using Padlet. We brainstormed ideas or characteristics for successful materials for teaching grammar or practicing grammar. And then the participants signed up for teams where they chose a certain grammar point and then work together on creating a lesson plan or creating an activity. The teams and the grammar points were self-selected. And again, they had to, after they present their lesson plans and so on, they need to give an explanation of their choices and so on, taking into consideration all the knowledge and the sort of the theory that we had discussed in weeks, in the earlier weeks 1 and 2. The week 4 was another, again, looking at a practical consideration, and that was error correction. So we had a lot of resources to look at, not too many, but some of them, of course, were optional, but to look at certain articles on to correct or not to correct, and why do we correct and how do we correct when it comes to grammar. The survey, again, and sharing the results of the survey proved to be very engaging. And specifically, like when the results were very similar, people wanted to know what other teachers were thinking about grammar, error correction, and so on. But for example, a question like this one, where they were asked about comprehensive feedback or selective feedback, which one do you choose? And you can see from the result of the survey that it was quite divided, and we had a lot of discussion about that. Before I move on to the final week, so what they were invited to do is I provided a sample student writing, and then I invited them to, like it had errors, and I invited them to show us how they would address that student, whether they would correct their errors, what kind of feedback they would provide, and so on. So some participants decided to choose their own students' work, or maybe use the one that was posted there. And of course, using the online shared collaborative tools and so on, they talked to us and they justified the choices that they make. And it was interesting where everyone was really attending to the context of their teaching. Finally, the week 5, we talked about what our opportunities for professional development when it comes to working on grammar and learning more grammar tools or certain ideas to tackle when it comes to teaching grammar. And we also talked about observation and how we can use observation as a way for professional development. And then the participants were asked to create word clouds. Some of them, again, were familiar with word clouds, but others were not. And they found word clouds quite fascinating because they somehow bring out prominent themes. Some said, well, we can use it in the reading, or we can use it in this or that. And these are some of the word clouds that the participants have shared. And you can see, of course, the word grammar seems to be prominent, but again, each one is different. Again, seeing how each teacher thought about the whole experience of reflecting and the whole experience of the Grammar for TESOL session. Okay, so as I said earlier, this was the very first time for me creating and moderating an EVO session, so I was quite a newbie there. But some ideas worked for me, and I thought maybe I can talk a little bit about this, and hopefully this will benefit anyone who wants to maybe join our team next year. So first of all, being and feeling confidently prepared, and I felt that the moderator training session, which was in October and November, it was a 4-week hands-on workshop for EVO moderators and co-moderators. I think it was a wonderful opportunity for me to be and to feel prepared. The session really did not leave any stone unturned. Everything, all the challenges and so on, so you could see everyone drawing on their experiences and sharing possible challenges and how to prepare for those, and also successes and so on. And if whoever wants to join, I would encourage you to take part in that moderator training session and be actively engaged in that session as well, because there's a lot of learning there. And of course, having enough time to set up the syllabus for the EVO session with the guidance of everyone there. Nelly and Vance and Natasa and everyone were very, very, very helpful. The second thing I think that stood me in good stead was to be flexible. I know when you work so hard on the syllabus and you set everything, and you want to keep it that way because you've worked a lot on it. But it's good as you start the session to make some adjustments and redesign some of the session materials, depending, of course, on the participants' various teaching contexts, which you know of after you start the session. And also be prepared to adjust the workload. So some participants are eager to participate in all the activities, and some don't have enough time. So it's good to give options. And how do you know about this? And I think that was because I was, to some extent, virtually available and looking at the forums, responding to the forums, but also reading other participants' responses and so on. So this gives you the feel of what is it that maybe you need to adjust a little bit and so on. I also did a mid-session feedback towards the end of week 2. Most of the participants completed that maybe at the beginning of week 3. And again, this was quite helpful in guiding me as to what is it that I needed to maybe adjust a little or change or add things that would cater to the different teaching contexts and so on. The weekly synchronous meetings were a great opportunity for clarifications. So even though not many participants attended, but again, those who attended gave me ideas as to how maybe I needed to tweak things a little bit and so on. The third takeaway is to be ready to step out of your comfort zone. So for me, hosting online meetings was a terrifying experience. It's like really very terrifying. It used to be, not as much though. My first attempt was not very, I don't know, not the best. Even though Nelly has kindly offered us opportunities for practice to work with the Wiz IQ, and I practiced. But my first synchronous meeting, I was still like, even now you could see like I still need time with screen sharing and whatnot. But I made it, and subsequent meetings were much more comfortable. So be ready to expand your comfort zone. Not completely stepping out of it, but maybe just expanding it. Number 4, continually reflecting and thinking about the why as well as the how. So anytime that you, like, there are a lot of online tools and platforms and so on that you can use, but I think what really again helped me was to always think, why am I doing this? So this is the how, this is the what, and this is how I'm going to deliver it, but why is it there? What I did was I created a document as a journal for all the reflections that I had as we were going along. So troubleshooting tips, reminders, not to do's for next time, and so on. So always reflecting what worked, what didn't, and so on. I also encouraged participants to reflect with me. So there were so many opportunities for sessions, for the session participants to reflect on the concepts, on the practices, on the activities themselves that we had in our session. As I said, live meetings were a great venue for explaining the how and articulating the how, but also the why. So as you're trying to explain why we're doing this or that activity, it becomes clear to you, and you either see, yeah, that was a good decision to add, or to add this or that activity, or maybe not quite, maybe there are other possibilities, and so on. Sharing the results of the surveys, as I said, proved very engaging and offered ample opportunity for reflection for myself and for the participants, and also creating weekly summaries. As you're creating the summary, you're looking back all the time. And it's not much the experience as much as thinking about the experience that I felt really mattered. Finally, as I was preparing for the session, I thought maybe I need to read all that was written on grammar and all the different theories, and update my research and so on. And I felt like after the session was over that I didn't really like, it's good to be, of course, well informed and update your knowledge of research and so on, but it all comes down to practice. And teachers take that theoretical and sort of knowledge and try to see how it fits into their context, and that what really matters. And as a moderator, I didn't have to know all the answers. I didn't have to have everything sort of set in stone and answer all the questions and so on. So I accepted all the it depends and the maybes, and it was good to even raise more questions. And it's okay if those questions remained unanswered. And just to end, this is one of my session participants' comments, and I'm just going to read it with you, because for me it felt at the end that I have to some extent achieved the purpose of Grammar for TESOL. So Manos, one of my participants, said this course surely provided us with a lot of opportunities to reflect on what we already knew, but also presented us different approaches to the same question: how should we teach grammar? Personally, I believe I'm left with more questions than I had before we started, which is great. It is a great chance for me and many of us, I'm sure, to do some research on grammar teaching approaches, maybe read a study or two, and figure out an optimal way to teach grammar. I believe that the basis of this course was that grammar teaching is not something written in stone. Therefore, maybe we all need to keep our eyes and ears open to other views and to be able to reevaluate the methods we already use. So there you have it. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to EVO 2020. Okay, that's it. Maybe I can stop the sharing now.
Yeah, well done. I remember when you were starting out, you were always seemed to be struggling, but keeping your head above water, and just keeping up there and keeping going. So does anybody have any questions for Nagla? How many people do we have here now?
We have 30.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we still have the attention of our audience. Okay. Well, just one question, Nagla. What did you learn about your subject matter that you didn't know before as a result of teaching this course?
I think what was, for me, looking at, like, again, as I said, my experience is mostly in EAP. So, and again, a lot of my colleagues are in EAP and so on. So for me to be interacting and exchanging views and ideas with teachers from a wide variety of contexts, it just taught me that context comes first, and it's all about the learner needs, and it's all about the teaching context that really matters, and this affects our teaching and teaching decisions, and so when it comes to grammar and other aspects of the language.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Anybody else? And we have two more presenters, and I suppose Heike was scheduled to go a little bit earlier, so maybe, I don't know, shall we, Heike, would you like to talk about immersive language learning? Yes, there you are.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and then Judy after that, Judy and Neves Torres. And we'll just stay here. We'll just stay here until you're done. It's all very interesting. Thank you very much.
Well,
Nagla.
thank you for taking me in anyway at the because normally if somebody's late, it should be punished. Yeah.
Later for that.
Okay. So thank you very much for allowing me to present our EVO session, Immersive Language Learning, attended to by 150 participants. We spent 5 weeks with one big question in mind. What kind of language learning environment, an immersive language learning environment, we're talking about 3D type of virtual worlds, social VR worlds, or anything immersive, which type of environment would warrant our time of investment and interest to get to know it deeper? Because there's so many out there, so we wanted to have a look at all of them and check them out and see which ones would we like best for language teaching and learning, obviously. So we set out with 8 moderators, a wonderful team. As you can see, we're around in avatars. Our participants spread all over the world, 150 of them. And we decided to have a look at various platforms. Actually, the 8 moderators were just a smaller version of it because we conducted 20 live sessions over a period of 5 weeks. And we invited quite a few experts of various virtual environments. And for example, we looked at World of Warcraft and invited Dr. Sinja Cologne because she's an expert on World of Warcraft. Or I contacted CoSpaces in Munich, and in order to sort of ask them, can we have a demo, because we wanted to get to know CoSpaces. We had somebody offered to do Immerse Online, a specific 3D VR-enabled environment made and created for language learning. Fantastic. So there was quite a number of solutions we looked at, and it was a total of 18 which we discussed, and a total of 13 which we looked at in great detail. And as I said, we invited people in Zoom, guest speakers, experts. We invited them in Zoom, conducted the live session so that these experts of the, say, World of Warcraft showed us via screen sharing this world and told us a little bit about how to go about it, you know, what's the ins and outs of it. And then we compared the 13 and we said, set up this evaluation rubric, which became a very lengthy document because we wanted to find out in comparison which ones of these are free. So I'll let you read that real briefly before I start talking about it. and look at the evaluation that we looked at.
Is that its link under evaluation rubric factors?
Yeah, and I will paste all of the links in the text chat. I've already prepared them, if that's okay. Unfortunately, you can't click on here.
No.
I should have given you the. I'll do that just after the session. I've prepared all of the links, so bear with me. So look at the evaluation rubric factors also in this case, if you could read that as well. Vance, you could also type that, I think,
I'm doing that now using all of my thumbs. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
And if you could also type vlanguages.pbwiki, pbworks, sorry, vlanguages.pbworks.com, because all of the results of our session is on that very page. So wonderful. So what we looked at is which of these environments have voice, have text, are they free of charge? What you need a headset and all this. So we evaluated and looked at and compared, and then we voted for our top 5. I'll give you the voting link as well in a minute. But if I gave that to you now, I would take away the sort of excitement. Which ones are the top 5? So what I will do is I'll present in fast speed 19 solutions, each with a slide, each with just one sentence to explain. And we count down from 19 to 1. So the last 5 will be the 6 actually will be the exciting ones. So, but just to get to know what we call it the honorable mention, because it's a wonderful virtual world that we a lot of us enjoyed. A lot of educators were in there, and it was created by the creators of Second Life. Sadly closed down in November last year, and our session was in January, remember? So here comes number 18. So I'm counting down from 18, you know, so 18, Sansar, a beautiful virtual world, but you can't do anything there. Facebook Horizon, that's actually wrong. That's Facebook Spaces, the predecessor of Facebook Horizon. Wrong screenshots, and only accessible via Oculus Rift. Nobody has one, yeah? It's a headset, it's very expensive, yeah? Facebook Horizon, now this is the one that is still beta, so we couldn't access it, yeah? And it will be a virtual world coming out beginning of this year, they told us, with people who don't have legs. Don't know what to make of this, you know. Fortnite, as you know, is being played by 230 million teenagers around the world, and they use voice over IP, usually via Discord. So they communicate about their gameplay in English, so they learn English. So we wanted to know, can we use it for English language teaching and learning? But we couldn't find anybody who would demonstrate that world to us. That's why it's on place 15, even though it's a very popular video game. Mozilla Hubs is the only one that runs in a browser. Now, I was told that now a couple of things are happening with Facebook coming out with Horizon, that Microsoft announced that the latest version of Edge has a very newly developed WebGL. WebGL is the possibility of, in the browser, in Edge or in Chrome, to display 3D content. And as you can see from Mozilla Hub, it's very, very basic at the moment. So if it was browser-based, we would possibly use more of it. However, there's a really nice community. It's not really good on 14. It should be higher up. Never mind. People don't know much about it. Play to Speak was a single-player VR game. So it's not really what we wanted to look at, because we looked at social VR worlds. That means multiplayer games. That means when learners get together in that virtual world and interact and communicate. And so this was just the one-off that we looked at, but what we liked about it was a beautiful chatbot, which caused us to talk a lot about chatbots, yeah? And chatbots are a nice tool in OpenSim. So FriendBase was an app. So quite interested in all 3D content, even it's just app based, no PC content. And it's a lovely world. You can go in, create an account, it's all free, and you can start chatting with other people. Now, interestingly, it doesn't have a very good rating on Google Play. It only has a 3.3. Why? Because there's a lot of poor content. Poor as in bad language, sexual content, and even people talking to each other just for the sake of, getting a friend thing. 3D has a long way from when I used to design 3D over the 30 years. Judy, you're right there. Judy, who's a Minecraft person here, will likely know what I'm talking about. So Immerse Online was that solution that we got to learn, a startup in the US, and they created a 3D environment, including content. And content means that for role play purposes, which was the aim of the game here, for role play purposes, there was even a transcript in English that helped learners to practice this role play with vocabulary and so forth. So an interesting 3D world, absolutely unaffordable for any of us. And what we later on found out, it was not even a platform, it was a language learning school, more or less, that would sell via VR-based content. But it was interesting for us to see, if we had tons of money, what would we create something like Immerse Online with beautiful content for English language learning? Yeah, so it was very good. It was a great demonstration by Lukas. Now we're coming to 10. So AltSpace is one of them. AltSpace has a fantastic community, and the VR educators for VR community, which is very large, they tend to meet in AltSpace. And even though I don't like the sticky avatars, stick as in they don't have hands or they don't move, but it has great, there's voice over IP, it's a lovely text chat, and as I said, it's long standings, many years that's been around, so lots of communities have formed, and it's great for language learning and teaching. Runs on VR, but also runs on a browser. And VR chat really surprised us because we found that it's a hilarious 3D environment, which you can't do anything as regards customizing the environment. You can't possibly build a house or anything, but you can change your avatar easily and with a lot of fun. And there's lots of creative people in there who create the most funny of all avatars. And there's a lot of laughter. And interestingly, VR chat doesn't have a chat, no text chat. It only has voice. We're kind of surprised at this. ScienceBase, also beautiful, created by the founders of OpenSim. Fantastic. They're coming out on beta after 3 years in May this year. Hopefully we look forward to some more really fantastic educational content. Verbila surprised us too, didn't know about that one, that they created universities. Their target group is really explicitly educational, but you can also be in teams, corporate teams as well, you can do. And what is nice about Verbila is shared media on what we would recognize as real sort of like normal whiteboard where you can present videos and PowerPoint and everything at ease. And this at ease doesn't take place in Second Life or OpenSim. So in OpenSim or Second Life, it's very difficult to present a normal PowerPoint. But here, this was the USP of Verbila, otherwise free to enter. and free to walk around and free to use some of the rooms. But if you wanted more, then you pay a lot of money. And now comes some number 6. I think Minecraft should be higher than 6, but there's not a lot of people who know about Minecraft. For me, it should be number 2 at least. But there you go. It was 6, and we love Minecraft. We hear more from Vance about it. World of Warcraft beat Minecraft to it, but only because Cynthia or Leah Lobo did a fantastic presentation on it, I'm sure. So it's also interesting that World of Warcraft came out with a classic version just last year. And that's sort of the environment with role play that we could associate as educators with our learners. As a very, very strong educator community in World of Warcraft. And as I said, it doesn't look like this monster type of thing. Yeah, so you can go for the classic version. Now, an absolute awesome, and I can recommend to everyone to get CoSpaces. It's free for teachers and for 29 students. It's app-based. It can do AR, it can do VR, and it can do coding, all of it. And you must watch the recording of that session of a New Zealand teacher who showed us CoSpaces, how he's been using that for 3 years with his learners. And it was adorable. Oh, we absolutely love CoSpaces. Number 3, Second Life, classics. Yes, we love it. And interestingly, some Second Life has now changed a bit because they said, am I out of time already, Vance? Give me how many minutes? So, number 2, that's the important one.
Yeah, don't stop now.
Okay. Okay, I'll be finished in 2 minutes.
No, don't
so
worry.
number 2, number 2 is active worlds. And because it's been around for many, many years, and there's tons of content in active world, it's free of charge. It's a beautiful environment to display text for language learning, absolutely adorable. And I think we would have voted active worlds to be number 1, except for one reason. I'll tell you in a minute who beat everyone to it. Because active worlds is easy to use. It can do voice over IP. It can do host hundreds of people. It is it's got tons of content, very easy to modulate and very easy to create. So active worlds is our number 1 with regards to usability. However, number 1 is OpenSim. And the only even though OpenSim is more difficult to handle, one of the reasons we voted it to be number 1 is because it's open source, which means, say, if Active Worlds, which is a company behind Active Worlds, if the company folds and says, sorry, guys, we have to close our business, then all of the worlds that were ever created in Active Worlds will disappear. Yeah, with OpenSim, that does not happen because it's open source. It's out there, it's hosted by tons of people, so it will not disappear. Very important. It's like Moodle, you know, it's very important. So here's our evaluation rubric. I'll share the links in a minute. Here's TriCider, and also with TriCider, it's beautiful. We add the pluses and minuses of each of the lessons, the languages, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Heike. That was a very efficient and content-laden.
Loved it, Heike.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes, thank you for sharing all the virtual world.
Yeah, and you've given that presentation often in virtual worlds just recently.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And left recordings. So yeah, and here's another one. So yeah, very interesting. That session really looks very interesting. Unfortunately, we're so glommed into Minecraft where we are that we didn't look around and find all these other ones. But yeah, anybody else?
You did the right thing because it's Minecraft warrants the time and effort to invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our purpose, to find out which ones of the worlds do we want to delve in great detail. And Minecraft is one of those that definitely is worth all the time and effort to get to know it.
The thing I like about Minecraft, as opposed to Second Life, let's say, is that everyone is a maker. You know, that people can be creative in that world. They can do anything they want. Of those other ones that you just showed us, are there any, like OpenSim, for example? Can anybody create things there, or do they just wander around and experience it?
No, it's absolutely a creator's world. And the whole of OpenSim, we had 4 presentations on just what they did in OpenSim. It was 4 language educators in our moderator team. And these presentations, they blew us away as to what not only the educators, but the students create in OpenSim. Absolutely mind-blowing. The V Languages Wiki hosts a lot of pictures of student creations in OpenSim. Fantastic.
Is there a video about it?
Yes. So there are recordings there on the V Languages page, and there are, in the second week, all we did was OpenSim, only second week. And there's to the, we published pages of pictures to look at. It's mind-blowing what people are doing in OpenSim. And OpenSim used to be such a drab, as in it was so many years behind Second Life. That is no longer the case. It's beautiful, it's rich in content, it's rich in teachers sharing it, and it's very, very affordable for everyone who even wants to look at it. It's awesome.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments they want to make or questions they want to ask? Hey, Dennis.
Great to see Osna.
Yes,
Osna has been a wonderful supporter as a moderator. He's invited everyone to his session, to his place as well in Second Life. Dennis, do you want to say a word?
That's unmute. Hit unmute, yeah, just hit find there. We have to tell.
Heike has brought me up well to mute most of the time.
Yes,
But
people here are very good about muting. This is amazing,
yeah.
amazing group of people here.
No, great presentation. I waited outside in the corridor for a long time before I got in.
Ah, sorry about that. That's my fault.
No problem. But I just second everything Heike says, especially about OpenSim. I've just bought myself a tiny island there. So perhaps I'll see you there sometime.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, well, we have one more group to present, Judy and Nevis Torres, and they're going to tell us about teaching EFL to young learners. Hi, Nevis and
Hey,
Judy.
I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, go for it.
There you go. Hi, everybody. In proper New York fashion, I'm coming in a day late. I totally messed up the time changes. Didn't realize it was a day change too. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad to see everybody. It's really good to see everybody. Teaching EFL to young learners, we did again. We love doing that. This year, it was myself, Nellie Deutsch, Nevis, who is here with us, Cheryl McCoy, and her daughter, Dina McCoy. Oops, sorry. So the first week, to begin with, like, we target not just teachers. We like to think that we're targeting parents, caregivers, anybody, children, teachers, anybody who actually deals with young learners. So we had a 5-week session. I will talk to you about the first couple, and then Nevis is going to pop in to talk about the last few. Anyway, we had quite a number of people initially, about 150 signed up, and they came and went, I think we had a really wonderful, wonderful, wonderful session. We started with Nellie, who did our getting acquainted the first week, and she did a voice thread, which was a little interesting because a lot of people were new to it, so they were playing with it, and we played with it, trying to use words, trying to use just pictures, trying to use text. It was fun. So we got to meet a lot of people from all over. I think this year was a little more mixed in the participants that we had. They came from all over pretty much equally, unlike last year where we had sort of an imbalance of mostly people from Vietnam. So we go into the second week, which was my week, the magic of reading aloud a book. And I changed it up a little this year, and in the past we've done with just basically working on how to read aloud the book. And this year I added a major component where we discuss the science of reading and really what the science of reading is, and the different components that come into play. Because I think all of the new research on the science of reading is really important, because the truth is it's not inherent to what we do. It is something that we actually have to consciously pay attention to and learn. And I showed how reading aloud a book was very important in the science of reading and the necessity of the various components we need to do in the science of reading. And one of the biggest ones is having background knowledge and understanding, which is why a lot of students learn to sound out the words, they learn to read the words, but they have no idea what they're reading. And therefore, when they go on to trying to read on their own, it collapses on itself. So reading aloud is really important, because you can read aloud a lot of different things to them. It does not necessarily, and this is one thing I think a lot of our participants learned, do not read what you think their reading level is. That is what they read. What you read is something that stretches what they are reaching for, because that's the only way they're actually going to really learn to read on their own. So we had a really good time, and I like to think that I taught everybody to shine a little light on their children with the magic of reading a book, and I think we had a great time. The participants really enjoyed really understanding that there is a little more to reading a book to children or to adults or to anybody. That's something else that they learned, is that reading to adults can be just as exciting as reading to children. And then we went into week 3. Neves, are you there? Can you unmute?
Yes, done. Okay, so just firstly, this is my 4th year presenting in the week, well, in the board games, because it changes from week 3 to week 4, depending on how many weeks we have with what we're planning. The important thing is to, about my week, is the fact that we go over a lot of theory and then some practical activities with, and again, as Judy was saying, every year we get different nationalities coming into our sessions, which makes it challenging, because every time we have to get over the language part first, which sounds terrible, but it's not really. It's just because each one of us communicates differently. So then it's important to understand why games are important, because then we get a lot of people that say, but why use games to learn English? How can you improve the learning of a language by using games? So Judy's changed the slide, and that's exactly where I want to be. There are some benefits of using board games, and this is what we go over in my week specifically, motivating the learning. Board games motivates learning because it elicits interaction with a game-based activity. You engage the learner because playing a game doesn't feel like schoolwork. You boost their language skills by naturally eliciting that interaction that can happen. Especially the board game must be made obviously on a language basis, so that we help them create board games that are going to elicit the speaking. It's not just playing a game, it is playing a game, but eliciting that speech factor, that speaking the second language, which is important in the EFL classroom, which is what our session is all about. It promotes confidence, it boosts group socialization, allowing for communication. I'm looking at 2 slides. Okay, it's the same one, yes. Speaking skills and the role playing that happens as well when you're playing a game like a board game, how they tend to be, like if they're winning or losing. And so that role playing, that interaction, that can also help shy students overcome their shyness about speaking. Anyway, just to wrap up my week, and then we'll go on to the next slide. The important factors about my week from my past experience has been to make sure that the week is not as heavy as I made it. The very first time I did this week, I put in so many activities, I found that the participants were not able to complete the activities because I didn't think that they would only be doing my work. They had to do 4 weeks of other things in the whole session. So this year I purposely just narrowed it down to the bare essentials and made it so that they were able to get through my week without that much of a problem. And I found them more excited because we were getting a lot of repeaters in the past, people who were coming back the second year and third year because they were saying I couldn't finish it all last year, or I didn't get enough out of it because I was doing the activities and rushed through the activities and we weren't really learning. Whereas this year I felt that we were getting more learning happening in the narrower activity, like less activities rather than having too many activities. So that's what I found happened in my week. I just found that they were really brilliant because I gave them less activities to do. Okay, so that's about me. Let's go on to Cheryl's week. Next slide.
Sorry.
Thank you, Judy. So a little bit about Cheryl's week. Upcycling, just as she says on her slide, is a metaphor for way teachers always operate. They take an idea, a word, an object, and they use it to teach a lesson in a unique way. Cheryl's session that she does together with her daughter Dina helps teachers to practice that process, to put that upcycling process into actually learning a language. So they use activities such as, what are some of the activities? Well, they did, I think, a watermarking or something, was it? Do you remember, Judy, what it's called? I've forgotten the name. A tie-dye, that's it. They did a tie-dye activity where the activity went through all the steps, and the activity being in English, and each of the participants had to redo that activity they could also do it with their class, with their students if they happen to have students, which was really great. And that was where that whole activity of upcycling takes a new turn. The other thing that we noticed as well during Cheryl's week was when we were talking about upcycling with some of our Italian participants, they were really not understanding what upcycling was, because upcycling is a new term, and they were thinking upcycling was actually recycling, and they were thinking, well, why do you want to recycle? Like, recycle in Italian means to take something and either, separate it, plastic, paper, cardboard, etc., and put it in the separate recycle bins outside, or take something that you've used it, like use an old pot for carrying something else in it, or you know what I mean? They didn't really understand that upcycling was actually changing the destination of that object. So it wasn't just using a pot and using it as a pot somewhere else, like not just to put pot plants in, but changing the whole aspect of it. So that was really, really interesting. And that's where we learned how important sometimes the language is when you are in these sessions where each culture has an idea and a concept of the language. I'm Australian, which you can probably tell. Judy's from New York. Cheryl is from Kansas. Dr. Nellie's from Toronto. So we already have 4 different cultures around us, but we're all English speakers. So more or less we understand or can make space for each one's culture. But when we deal with someone else's culture, someone else who's learning English as a second language, that is for us always a big learning curve that we need to always understand. And I think that's the best thing about EVO. EVO is allowing us, each one of us, to reach beyond our cultural borders and beyond sometimes our own cultural bias, because being native English speakers, we sometimes can't understand what our students don't understand when it's, to us, simple English. But it's not, because as upcycling showed us, it was like another whole new world. So to wrap it up, I think the EVO sessions are really important and they need to be on the mark all the time. They should never deviate from what it starts off to be. That's all from me here in Italy. Over to you, Judy.
So yeah, we in the end, for week 5, our participants, they had their challenges, they did their activities, they learned a lot of methods of teaching, they learned about reading aloud, the pluses, the minuses, and what are the best ways to do it. We played enormous amounts of games. That was really awesome. We learned about arts and crafts from Cheryl, and we created videos for storytelling, board games, and made arts and crafts. And then we had this Padlet that we had our students post their finished things and their reviews and their reflections on what they did. And I think everybody had a really wonderful, positive time. They really enjoyed discussing the science of reading and really learning really what it was all about, because we hear it a lot, but you know, a lot of people didn't really know what it truly was about. So that was kind of cool. And as everybody knows, I always give you a comment and a quote. So here it is. Creativity is intelligence, having fun. Albert Einstein. And to practice any art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow. So just do it. By Kurt Vonnegut. So everybody have a great, great, great day. I decided for my video, I would put a picture of what New York looks like right now behind me at my balcony door. It's like Sunday every day, but it's cool. It's cool. And it's great to see everybody. Any questions?
Yes, Heike has a question.
Sure, Heike, what's up? You want to put your mic up?
The question was, did you share know-how and best practice about how to teach young learners online as well, or was it more that you, as teachers, shared best practice of what you do locally?
Well, I think for me, I know I did a little of both. So it's like we talked about what face-to-face reading a book out loud is and the benefits and the drawbacks. And we talked about like doing it online, how would we create a video of an online story, and what are the actual drawbacks to that. And there are a few drawbacks to that, which makes that kind of reading face-to-face a little more useful and effective. Because like when they, you know, there's all these storybook onlines and stuff, which I know about because it's my union. But the drawback of the online storybook reading is that you're not really teaching the kids to read a book, and you're not getting them excited about reading books. Because one of the biggest challenges we encountered that was brought up over and over and over again, and it is every year, is that my teachers are always like, well, my kids hate reading. They hate books. How do we get them to love books? I said, well, you know, the thing is, if you keep equating books with school and not equating books with something you love to do or something that's fun to do or that has a value, they're not going to, because as they go along and they finally learn how to read it, it's going to be like, oh yeah, I got to read this for school. And they don't understand that you can just read it for fun, which is why I stress, try not to read readers to them, read real books. And, you know, like a lot of the teachers were like, oh, you can't, you know, do it if they don't have pictures, but you can. And the kids love it. So, but yeah, we also discussed online, and I believe Mives also discussed online.
Because I'm getting a lot of requests from teachers now who want to know how to teach a kid online.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
wondering where to turn to. I was really looking forward to your presentation today because I'm not familiar with that
Well,
type of
being
group.
that this happened before COVID virus,
I
being that
know,
it happened,
I know.
yeah. But I
just want to,
am
yeah.
also, excuse me, I am
Go on.
also a tutor and an IT. I have an IT company and a teacher trainer. So actually, since the virus thing started and they kicked all the teachers in New York out of their classrooms, my business has been exploding because I've been online. I've been, you know, doing one-on-one teaching with all of these teachers to teach them how to use the technology and how to reach the children online. So yes, it's happening, but maybe next year.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say to Heike just quickly that although the material, when we did have our session, we always talk about teaching online, but most of the teachers and 99% of the teachers are not interested about, they were not interested about practices of teaching children online, because as most teachers that teach face-to-face in a normal classroom, they were never thinking that they would be in the situation that they are now.
Yep.
And now we've had to revert all our high schools. I work at a high school full time. Everyone has gone online. I spend all my afternoons until I work 18 hours a day teaching Italian teachers that are in our small community how to revert to online teaching. It's been very hard because most of them assume that what you do face to face, you just do it online, but it's not. And the students are falling asleep, or they're not answering, or they're not listening, and they're not interacting with the teacher in the classroom. And we've had a very, very difficult time teaching teachers to change their outlook of teaching online, because it's a totally different thing. And really, it's not just about best practices for teaching children. The important thing is that in Italy, we have a very strict Privacy Act in operation since 2017. And okay, so great. Now I can see the Italian Ministry of Education is one of your okay, all right. So basically, I'll get back to you. I'll write to you on that. Basically, the important thing at the moment is that they understand that the GDPR of 2017 really does limit what we do online. We can't mention their names if we're going to record. Teachers are recording lessons now because Meet, for example, everyone's using Google Meet because of G Suite apps, right? Everyone's got the G Suite now. You know, even schools that didn't have it have now got it, and they're recording and they're publishing it. And they're not aware of the fact that students under 18 cannot be filmed,
right?
And you know, and shown on public channels. So it's becoming really, really, really difficult. It's really difficult, but we're getting there. We've got a lot of. We're working very hard every day with the Italian teachers, and it's just a matter of teamwork and helping out and working. That's it. A lot of work. Hi, Vance. How are you? What time is it down there or up there, wherever you are?
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Already.
Yeah, which is why I got confused. I
Yeah.
thought when he said Saturday, I went, oh, okay. And I looked at it, I went, oh, it's Saturday night. And then this morning, because my phone was on mute, it was like I woke up to a rash of nonstop messages. I was like, oh my God, it was the wrong day. No. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah.
even in New York, a lot of the teachers that I'm finding, their biggest issues are, especially because we have so many privacy rules especially in the public school system, which is the one that I deal with mostly. They don't understand how to password protect things. They don't, they're going on Zooms, they're going on platforms and not realizing how to put it into private settings and lock it down so that only the children can see it, only they can see it, and that, because, and it's a new thing for them, because none of these teachers, most of them are young early service teachers, have never been online before and are completely clueless. So it's been a little crazy,
Yeah. There's a lot of resources, free resources out there right now. And I see a lot of teachers using Flipgrid for kids. Well, the reason why I said that is because I see a lot of posts on, their faces of kids that have recorded on Flipgrid.
And they have to teach. The other issues that I've been dealing with is like they need to teach the children netiquette, because the children don't know it most of the time. And then there's the issues of some of the children don't actually have internet access. So they're just plain not getting educated right now, which is really sad. And we're talking about the invisible population of refugees, immigrant children in homeless shelters, families of trauma who are in undisclosed housing. And those places don't have internet access. They don't have phones. And those kids are just not getting educated, which is pretty sad. So we're trying to address that and in a non-tech way too. So anyway, I hope everybody's well and staying healthy.
Yeah.
Stay well, stay healthy.
Yes.
Stay inside and stay away.
Well, yes. Yeah. In my house, it's been really rough because I have my youngest adult son who's in a theater conservatory. He's been kicked out and he's online and he's like confused. So I had to teach him a little bit. Unfortunately, my husband is still going to work because he's a doctor and they're not closing his clinic. But so he's still out there, which is kind of scary every day. But
Stay safe.
Yep. One day at a time. We've been through a lot. We'll be through some more, and we'll survive this one too.
Yes.
Martha's out of quarantine. Congratulations.
Yay!
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's not safe to go out just because well, anyway, you go outside, you catch
actually,
it.
it's sort of weird because in Manhattan, where I am in Midtown Manhattan in the theater district, it's actually not that bad. It's worse in the outer boroughs where there's a density of population and everything. But pretty much people in Manhattan, transients and newcomers all split town. And some of the rich people split town. So it's really quiet. It really is like Sunday morning, dead quiet and deserted. Only it's kind of weird because it's 24/7. So, and aside from crazy people who are having neuroses over toilet paper, I mean, things are okay. Our distribution channels are still open, and so we still get goods, and it's not really that bad. We'll survive this too, one day at a time. Vance, as us older people know, we've been through a lot of other things. We'll be through this too.
Thank you, Heike, for mentioning Talon. This is
I love your groups, Taika. That was great.
yeah, this was just, you know, people like yourselves and just people all over the place are, you know, in this, well, Talon stands for Teaching and Learning in Isolation. Just, there we go. Should be something like that, maybe. Okay, so there it is. And it's just it's under the Learning Together umbrella. So it sort of segs with Learning Together, but it's for people who are finding themselves in having to retool, you know, their mentality, and or just getting, like Michael Coughlin, one of my good friends, he just was feeling lonely. So that's actually kind of the impetus for it. Was he wanted to revive Webheads, which we did 20 years ago, and bang, all of a sudden we got all these faces in Zoom. But it's just people that you know, the way it works is you go to the tiny URL there, and you can request access to it. And sorry, my microphone was over there. And then it's got a schedule, and you can write yourself in. And since I'm available from, you know, 12 hours a day from 10 in the morning, let's say, give me a chance to get a cup of coffee, and then, well, earlier than now, but 10 at night, I can get started. So at any time in there, that's a 2 a.m. to 1400. I don't mind knocking off. I'm not going anywhere, so I don't mind taking time and putting on a Zoom session. So if you want to propose one, just go to that page and put yourself down. And right now, Lane Marshall is there for the 14th. I haven't put her in yet. She's in Learning Together, but she offered to come in and talk about one of her initiatives as well. And we're going to meet on Monday, I think. But anyway, you see the schedule there. And and we're just getting it started, but if you want to share anything, skill, you want to talk about issues with children, or the things you've been talking about here, you can just go and sign yourself up. If you just want to, I think we're going to intensify a little bit our online interactions. So there's also a Facebook page, as you saw. So,
and Vance, you should add to it, only EVO moderators are invited.
No way. No, EVO is another part of it.
Well, it's such a wonderful group of moderators out there, and it's a huge crowd already, and they're the best on the best.
Yeah.
So you should limit your invitation circle of Tallinn to this exclusive group.
Anybody. We want to hear. Actually, it would be nice to hear from participants.
Of course. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, I guess on that note, let's say goodnight, but a little outro maybe. It used to be the 4th of April, but now it's the 5th, but it's we started on the 4th, and this is Learning Together. It's a webcastathon weekend. Yesterday and today we've had 3 over 2-hour sessions, and it's Learning Together episode 4, 4, 5. So and it's all put into one place. There's a link up there somewhere. You'll find a link in the text chat. Oh, I should give it to you, I suppose. Or do you need the link? Do you need the link to the? Or just go to learningtogether.com. Sorry, learningtogether.net, and you don't really need the long link.
Vance?
Yes.
Why don't you mention the Tech Guru Bar and the tools and the outreach?
Christine, please mention the Tech Guru Bar and the tools and the outreach. That's Christine Saba.
Yes.
Well, I think there's probably links. Tech Guru Bar is something with the TESOL. It's a TESOL initiative. They were going to revamp. Christine would be best. She's the chair of the college interest section. So if you want to say something about it, but basically we're asked to rethink the electronic village, and the Tech Guru Bar was something they came up with, and so it's supposed to be kind of, the idea is there's a bar with a tech guru there all the time, and it's sort of manned, and it's also a resource center. So
I was bummed we didn't have it.
yeah, techgurubar.pbworks.com is where Sandy Wagner has set it up. Now, in conversations with these people, I got a really neat idea, and Heike's here, I'll run this by her, but I thought, gosh, it'd be nice to have one, as we're doing it online, and PB Works is okay, but what about in Second Life? Maybe we could have a tech guru bar in Second Life. Of course, I don't know, maybe Heike could help with that or something like that, but or provide us a space.
I'll book a whole sim for us.
It could be. It could be in. What's the last one you showed us? Something sim.
Open sim.
Open sim.
Yes,
Yeah, I know
open
that.
sim.
Yes. Well, we could do it in Open Sim or something like that. Why not? There's an idea. So
Cool.
have a physical space you can go into. I suggest Minecraft, but people might get frustrated, they get slain, and they lose all their inventory. Anyway, but yeah. So that's just thinking. Now that this is over, and once I get a little sleep, I'll probably be looking for something else to do. And so this is a good month for it, or 2 months or 3 months, however long it lasts. It'd be a nice thing to play around with, So that's an idea I had for it. Did I cover all the bases, Christine? We saw your video a minute ago.
Yeah. Yes, yes. It was Tom Rob's idea. You had mentioned Sandy. Sandy was helping out, but it was Tom Rob's idea to come up with the tech guru bar. And then to do the outreach to the whole community, given the situation is a global issue nowadays. So we just thought we'd be out there to help anyone. As you've been mentioning, you've all been called upon to help out. So there's that also.
Yeah, I've got another URL that I've been, the Tech Guru Bar, and I think Tom also has another initiative. There are a lot of people who are making resource pages. TESOL, TESOL has a COVID-19 community. So in fact, actually, you don't have to be a TESOL member to join it. It's got a lot of good resources. You can apply through TESOL to get a TESOL ID. You don't have to pay for it. But anyway, and then you can join that community and see what they're doing. But I'll just put another link here. It's to a page. My idea is that I would crowdsource a page. I got that idea from Alec Kouros, by the way, George Kouros' brother, because he had, some 20 years ago, he had the idea to crowdsource Google Docs and get people to write and collect information that way, and they often work. So I thought I've got a little resource too, but I thought I would curate it by getting people to write in to this document. So you can have a look at it if you want. I'll just find it. Give me a second here. Oh, where is it?
By the way, I posted links to the Call IS help page, Call IS Tech Resource Help Sheet. It's Call IS app help.
Yeah, okay, here it is, crowdsourced document. It has a tiny URL, which I don't know why I can't always remember my tiny URLs. Here it is, COVID-19 teaching, that's it, okay. So this is a place you can visit. I've been putting a lot of information there, and there's a wiki page that it goes to. Or here, I'll just include that in the link here. So the wiki page is the second thing down here. So I'm taking the information from this and curating it there. But I've been so busy with this the last week or so, I haven't really done much with it in the last week. Now I got to find my Zoom chat. Here we go. Okay. There we go. So that's COVID-19 teaching. That's a crowdsourced document. If you want to go there, you can explore it. It's got some interesting things there.
I think you pasted it to someone's private chat.
I did. Oh, thank you for, yeah, no telling what I've been doing. That's one thing I really don't like about the Zoom thing, is it always defaults to the last person you communicate with, and you think they're doing that.
Thank you.
Did everybody get the link to everyone got the Talon link? And I put that to everybody. I hope so. Anyway, okay. There's just a few things I've been playing around with while I've been
Fantastic.
vegetating here at home. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. This is really such a rich, interesting group that we have here, the people who moderate these EVO sessions selflessly, I should say. And Stephen Downes famously said when he put on the first MOOC and people were thinking, everyone was thinking they were crazy. George Siemens and Stephen Downes were giving a course very simply just for a couple hundred students. They just said, yeah, why don't we open this up for everybody? And, okay, what a neat idea. Thousands of people register for their course, and then all of a sudden they got to figure out how, okay, we got to teach these people who paid for it. Okay, that's fine, but how are we going to deal with all these other people? And so they invented the concept of MOOC, which they didn't invent it, it just happened, But it is that people come into it, and you don't have to feel, the teacher doesn't feel responsible for them. He's a facilitator, and basically they teach themselves. But when they were trying to work all that out, and someone asked Stephen Downes, why are you flogging yourself on the back and doing this? He said, because I'll learn from it. That's basically what we're doing. That's why I asked Nagala what she learned from her experience, because that's really what we're doing. We're learning all the time. We're upping our skills through EVO and through all these interactions with one another and all these networks. So anyway, well, thank you all for coming, and
get some sleep, Vance.
What we should do at the very end is everybody switch on webcams and clap.
Yay! Okay. Great helpers. Keep it up. I'm doing a screenshot. Okay, yay! I got it. All right.
This is kind of like every night at 7 o'clock promptly in New York now. They clap for all of the health work.
Clap for several
So my
minutes,
husband goes out to the balcony and he goes.
Nice. Okay, that'll go up in my blog. Everyone's clapping but me. I'm, working with it. I'll have to Photoshop it in. Okay.
Ciao, everyone, then.
Okay.
Keep smiling, everyone.
Nice seeing everyone. Ciao. Stay
Bye.
safe, as everyone's
Stay
saying.
safe.
Bye
Yes.
from Italy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya.
I'm waiting for my screen share to upload. Oh, here, I'll just give you the link.
And stop the recording.
I will in a minute. Oh,
What's that?
did someone do that? No, that was me.
No.
I was just going to put the link to everyone clapping. I thought it would be kind of fun there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go.
Judy.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
There we go.
Bye,
Link to
Christine.
everyone clapping. Okay.
Yay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, I clicked on recording. Nothing happened. Of course, I got to go to more and stop recording.